Tableau projects. Now we're gonna work together in order to implement Tableau project. But what's special about this project is that you will not only learn how to work with Tableau, but also you will learn how I usually implement projects in big companies. I'm currently leading big data and business intelligence projects in Mercedes-Benz. So that means I'm sharing with you now a knowledge, a real life skills on how we implement stuff in real projects. It's not just another online course. So I'm gonna take you in the project from the starting point, the user requirements, and we're gonna end up by having a wonderful Tableau dashboard. So the first step, we're gonna go and analyze the user requirements. We're gonna design and draw a dashboard mockups. And then the first step in the implementations, we're gonna prepare our data source. And after that, we're gonna start building the different charts. And once we have all the charts, we're gonna start planning our dashboard containers, and we're gonna start building and designing the dashboard. So let's start first by understanding the phases, the steps of any Tableau project. So now let's go. Tableau projects are like any other projects. For example, building a house. The first thing is that we have to sit with the users and understand their requirements and their wishes. So that means we have to analyze the user requirements, and then before starting constructing the house, the architect gonna go and create a blueprint and the layout by defining the structure of the house and the rooms. And then after everything is planned, the foundations of the house gonna be created, and this is very crucial step in the construction. And now once the foundation is finally stable, the construction gonna be starting by building the floors, walls, roofs, and so on. And the last phase, it is the finishing touches by adding doors, adding electricity, choosing the paint colors and the decorations. So the project's phases of building a house is very similar to a Tableau project. And here I'm gonna show you now the different phases that I have usually in each Tableau project. So the first phase of each Tableau project, we're gonna start with collecting and analyzing the requirements. So here first we have to understand the user requirements. Then we have to go and decide on which chart types we're gonna use for each requirement. And then together with the users, we're gonna go and draw the first mockup of our dashboard and as well decide on the colors. Then after we have understood the requirements, we can go and start building stuff in Tableau, and we start with the first step by preparing the data source. And here we have the following steps. First, we have to connect our data. Then we have to build a data model. And then the last step of that, we're gonna go and understand the data model and the data inside our data source. Then once we have a solid data source, we can start building our charts. And here we have different steps. First, we have to check whether we have all the data inside the data source, or we have to create a new calculated fields. And then once we create those calculated fields, we have to go and test them first before we start building any charts. And then after that, once we have all the data that we need, we can start building the charts. And then once we have the basic charts, we're gonna go and start formatting it by adding colors, removing grids, editing the axes and the headers. And now once we are building all our charts using the worksheets, we're gonna go to the last phase where we're gonna start building our dashboards. And now for this phase, you have to slow down and start planning everything step by step, and rushing in this phase will not help you at all. So first we start planning the whole structure of the dashboard by planning the containers. And once we have a plan, then we go to the next step where we start building the foundations. We start building the containers of the dashboard. And once we have a solid structure, we're gonna go and start adding the content to the dashboard. And after that, we're gonna have the step where we're gonna take care of the filters and the interactivity inside our dashboard. And then the last step of building a dashboard, we're gonna have the final touch by adding icons, like icons for the logo, icons for the filters, or for navigating between dashboards. Alright, so those are the main phases of building a dashboard in Tableau. And here, of course, my recommendations to take it step by step and don't rush things, otherwise you're gonna end up by chaos. And it's gonna be as well really hard to maintain the dashboard later. So don't rush building the dashboards, always take time in analyzing the requirements, understanding the data, planning the structure, planning the mockups, and by that I promise you're gonna deliver a professional work. Alright, so now I'm gonna start with the Tableau project from the scratch, where I'm gonna show you step by step how I usually implement projects using Tableau. And we start right now. Alright, so the first step in each project that we do is that we're gonna go and sit with the users in order to understand their requirements, their wishes. And we usually document the requirement in something called user story. So now we're gonna go through these requirements. I'm gonna leave the link in the description, and then we're gonna go and start choosing the right charts for each requirement. So the user story or the project is about sales performance. And here in the introduction, it says we have to go and build two different dashboards using Tableau to help the managers, the stakeholders, in order to to analyze the sales performance and as well the customers. So that means we're gonna go and build two dashboards inside Tableau. So let's start with the first one, the sales dashboard. The main purpose of this dashboard is to provide an overview of the sales metrics and trends. And here it says in order to analyze year-over-year sales performance. So that means here we are comparing 2 years together. Let's check the key requirements in these dashboards. So the first one is that to provide an overview for the KPI, where we have to display a summary of total sales, profit, and quantity for the current year and compare it to the previous year. So that means in the dashboard, we don't have to present all the sales. We have to present only the sales of the current year and as well the previous years. And now let's go and decide which type of charts that we have to present for these requirements. We can go with the bands. Bands are very useful in order to show the main metrics like the total sale, profit, quantity in big numbers. So for this requirement, we're gonna go and create bands for it. Let's go to the next one. We have the sales trends. Here we have to present the data of each KPI. That means the total sales, profit, quantity on a monthly basis. So here we are talking about change over time, right? For both the current year and compared to the previous year. And as well here they want us to identify the months with the highest and the lowest sales. So that means we have now to choose a chart that presents change over time. And for this, you can of course discuss it with the users and show them different types of charts as we learned before. So for now, I'm gonna go with the line charts. And precisely, we're gonna go and use the spark line charts in order to highlight the max and min values. Alright, moving on to the third requirement, we have the product subcategory comparison. So here we have to compare the sales of different subcategories for the current year and as well the previous year. And it says as well, we have to include in the comparison as well the profits. So here we are comparing multiple stuff. First, the subcategories with each others. We have two measures, the sales of the current year, the previous year, and as well the profits. So here we can understand that we are comparing the members of the subcategories, and for that we can use the bar charts. And since we have two values, the current year and the previous year, we can use, for example, bar in bar charts. And then for the second point, in order to compare the sales with the profit, we can present as well another bar chart side by side to the sales in order to show the profit informations. Alright, so moving on to the last one, we have the weekly trends for sales and profit. So here the requirement says we have to present the weekly sales and profit data for the current year. So here we are talking about change over time because we have the time aspects, and we have to display as well the average weekly values. We have to highlight the weeks that are above and below the average in order to understand the trends in our charts. So here again we are talking about change over time, but on the weekly basis. We have it before as a monthly, so here we can go as well with the line chart in order to compare the sales and profits. Alright, so with that we have covered the main requirements of the sales dashboards, and as well we have a plan on which charts to be used for which requirements. Alright, so now we're gonna move to another type of requirements. We have the interactivity requirements. So here it says that the dashboard should allow the users to check the historical data by allowing them to select any desired year and not limited to just the current year or to the last year. So that means the dashboard should be dynamic, where the users select the year that they want to compare it with the previous year. So it should not be always the last current year. And for that we can use parameters in order to solve this task. Then we have the second requirement. It says that we have to provide the users the ability to navigate through the dashboard very easily. And for that we usually buttons inside our dashboards in order to switch back and forth between the dashboards. And the next requirement about interactivity is that the user should be able to filter the data using the charts. And for that we can use dashboard filters. And now moving on to the last one, it's about data filters. So we should allow the users to filter the data by product informations like category and subcategory, and as well by the location like region, states, and city. So that means we have to provide all those filters inside our dashboard as well. Alright guys, so with that we have covered the first two steps inside our project, where we understood the user requirements, and as well we have decided and choose the right charts for each requirement. Let's move to the third step, where we're gonna build a mockup for our dashboard. Alright, so this is how I usually draw a mockup for a dashboard in Tableau. So as usual, it starts with the title. So it's gonna be Sales Dashboard. And we can put as well in the title which year is currently selected. So it's gonna be, for example, the current year 2023. And now below that, we're gonna have our bands, right? So we're gonna have three sections or three bands for the total sales, total profit, and total quantity. And now in each of those blocks, we're gonna show the following informations. First, we have to show, of course, the total. So we're gonna show the total sales. as a big number, and then below it we're going to show the difference in percentage to the previous year. And since we are talking about KPIs, we have always to show a symbol in order to show the performance of the current year. So it's going to be either up or down. So with that, we have covered the first requirement. The second requirement is to present the data on monthly basis and compare the current year with the previous year. And for that, we're going to use the spark line in order to show the curves and as well the progress of each line. So we're going to have two lines, one for the previous year and one for the current year, and we're going to show the max and the min values using like a circle that we can position it on the lines. So with that, we have covered as well the second requirements, and we're going to do the same stuff for each KPI. So we're going to do the same stuff for the profit and as well for the quantity. Alright, moving on to the third requirements, we have to present the subcategories comparison. So we're gonna go and use the bar in bar charts in order to compare the current with the previous year. So for that, we're gonna have the background bar in order to present the previous year, and the current year gonna be the one in the front. And what is missing here is the profit. So we're gonna present the profit side by side to the sales to the right side, and as well using the bar charts, and the profit could be plus or minus. And the next info that we can present in this chart is the profit side by side by the sales, and as well it's going to be a bar chart where it's going to have plus and minus values. Alright, moving on to the last requirement, we're going to have the weekly trends for sales and profits, and here as well we can use the line chart since it's changed over time, and we're going to have two sections, one for the sales and one for the profits. We will not bring them together in one because we want to show the average line for each metric. So that means we're going to have a reference line in order to show the average for the sales and as well another one for the profits. And then we have to go and highlight using the colors the data that is above the line and below the average line. Alright, so with that we have covered all the charts inside our mockup. Of course, we have to add different stuff like a filter. So since we have a lot of filters and there will be no space inside our dashboard, I'm sure about that, we're gonna go and have an icon in order to show and hide the filters. So that means we're gonna have a dedicated section where we're gonna put all our parameters and filters, like the product filters and the location filters. And the users can go and hit the button in order to show or hide this section. And now we come to a very interesting part of the design of our dashboard, that we have to decide on the coloring. And it's very important to decide on the coloring at the start of the project so that you don't have to adjust a lot of stuff later. So you have to decide on the coloring as you are creating the mockups together with the users. So what I usually do, I use maximum of 4 colors inside the dashboards. So the first 2 colors are the basic colors, and they really depend on the background color of Tableau. If you are using the white color as a background inside the dashboard, then I usually go with a very dark gray and a light gray. So those 2 colors are the basics that I usually use in each dashboard that I create, and the other 2 colors really depends on the user's preferences. You can let the users to decide on those 2 colors, or you can take it as well from the icon of their logo. So as you can see in the mockup, we are not designing only the chart types and the position of the charts inside the dashboard, but also the coloring of the dashboard. So now here the final touch that we can add to our mockup is that we can add a logo for the dashboard, and as well we can add a dynamic where we can switch to another dashboard by using buttons. So here, as the requirement says, we have 2 dashboards. We have the sales dashboard and the customer dashboards, and we can introduce on the header of the dashboard 2 buttons in order to switch between those 2 dashboards. So if the users clicks on the customers, it's gonna switch to the customer dashboards, but if the users clicks again on the sales, it's gonna switch back to the sales dashboards. Alright, we will not design now the customer dashboard. I'm gonna leave it for you in order to practice. We are focusing only on the first part of the requirements of the sales dashboards. Alright guys, so now we have a mockup, we have a blueprint, and if the users agrees on this blueprints, we can go and execute our plan, and we can start building that in Tableau. And we will start by preparing the Tableau data source. Alright, so far we have understood the requirements, and as well we have a mockup for our dashboard. The next step is that we're gonna go to Tableau and start building stuff. Alright guys, so the first step is to prepare our data source, and I promise you to start from the scratch. That's why we're gonna start our Tableau public as an empty where we don't have anything inside it. So now the first thing is, of course, we need our data. Go to the link in the description and download the data that I left there for the project. Then we're gonna go and connect it. So in order to do that, we're gonna go to the left side over here. So make sure you are at the home page or the starting page of Tableau. So let's go to the text file. And then here previously we worked with the big and small data source. Now we're gonna work with the Tableau project's sales dashboard. So let's go inside it. And here we get files which has similar informations as the old data sources. So let's go and select something over here and click open. So now we are at the data source page, and as you can see, we have connected now our data to Tableau. Alright, so the next step is that we're going to go and create our data model inside the data source. So here we have to go and understand our data. I'm just going to go and remove this from here in order to have everything from scratch. So we have to understand our data inside those files in order to know what is dimension and what is fact. So let's go for the customers over here and click view data. And as you can see here, we have only two columns: customer ID, customer name. This is the dimension. It doesn't have any facts. So that means the customers table is a dimension. Let's go and close it and go to the next one. We have the locations. Let's go inside and check the data. As you can see, we have city, country, region, states, and so on. Those informations are dimension informations as well, because we don't have any events inside it. So it's not really a fact. Let's go and close it. Let's check the third one, the orders. So now we can see over here we have some IDs like the customer ID, order ID, product ID. Then we have some dates, like for example here the order date. We have the ship dates, and as well some numbers like the sales, quantity, profit, and so on. So this is an indicator that this table is a fact, because we have a lot of measures, and as well we have dates, which can indicate that this table contains events. So once you see such a setup where you have IDs, dates, and measures, this is a big indicator that this table is a fact. So the orders are facts. Let's go to the last one, to the products. So here we can see that we have the product ID, category, product name, and so on. Those informations are a dimension. So that means this table, the product, is a dimension table. Alright, so with that we have now an overview of our data, and we can start moduling. In Tableau data source, the first thing that we can start is by drag and dropping the facts. So that means we're going to go and get the orders and put it in the data model over here. And then after that, we start bringing all other dimensions to the data model. So let's take the customers, for example, just drag drop it over here as a relation. And now as you can see, Tableau is going to create a relation. It's very important to check the relationship. So as you can see, we have the customer ID equals to the customer ID, which is correct. We will leave all other options over here in the performance as a default, since we don't deal now with the performance. First, we have to build stuff and then check whether the performance is bad or good. So at the start, leave everything as a default. Let's go to the next one, get the location, drag and drop it as well over here. And we're going to check as well the relationship. It's going to be the postal code equal to the postal code as a key. And the last one, we're going to get the last dimension, the product, and drop it to the data model. And as well, we're going to check the relationship. So as you can see, we have the product ID equal to the product ID. Alright, so with us, we have our data model where we have one fact and all the dimensions are connected to this fact. And now the next step is that I'm going to go and start changing the names around. So for example, let's go and rename our data source to sales data source, and then we're going to go to the table names and remove the CSV. So right click on it and let's rename. So let's remove the extensions and as well for everything, just to have it nice in the data model. So with that, we have very nice naming in the tables. Alright, so this is about the renaming. The next step is that we're going to go and check the data types for the fields, whether they are correct or not. Sometimes if you have bad data quality from the sources, you will get strange data types, which can make later a lot of issues if you don't check the data quality at the start. So let's do it quickly. We're going to go to the product, and as you can see, everything here we have like characters, and the data type is a string. So everything is fine to the product. Let's go to the locations, and now we can see that all those informations are geographical informations, and as you can see, all the data types are correct beside the region over here. So we can go and switch it to a region. So let's click on that and go to geographical role, and here we have the type of country region. Let's go and select that, and we can see that all of them contain characters and they are the data type of string. So everything is fine as well in the customers. Let's go to the orders, and here we have a lot of fields. What is very important to focus here on the date field. So as you can see, the order date and the shipping date, both of them has the data type date, which is really perfect. And in many situations I see a lot of informations as a date, but the data type is string, and that's because we have corrupt data inside those fields. And now the next important thing to check inside our data, we have to go and check our numbers. So let's make sure that all our numbers has the data type number. So as you can see, all our fields has the data type number, and this is really important because we want those numbers to be continuous measures in order to build the charts. So that means if you have any of those informations as a string, what can happen? Tableau gonna think this is a dimension, and then you cannot use it in your visuals to do aggregations like sum and average because it's a dimension. So that's why it's really important to check that all your numbers has the data type number in order to have it as continuous measure. Alright, so with that we have very good and solid data source. The next step is that I go and try to understand the data before I start building visualizations. So let me show you what I mean. Let's go to the worksheet page and let's start just randomly check the data inside the data source. So all what I want now is to get closer to the data, to the content of those tables, because normally in projects we have a lot of tables, and if you don't understand the content of the tables, it can be really hard to find your informations and build the correct charts. I know that we have practiced with most of those informations before, but I wanted to show you what are the steps that I usually do inside the project in order to build really nice visualizations. So now I go, for example, and check, okay, what is category, which values are inside it, and with that I can see that we have 3 values. That means we have low cardinality inside the category. And then I go, I check another example, let's say the subcategory, drag and drop it over here, and I can see that, okay, there is like hierarchy between those 2 dimensions. And then I go and take something else like the segments over here, and now we can see that we have a lot of duplicates inside the data, which means maybe there is no relationship between those 2 dimensions and the segments. So if I drag it to the start, still there is like duplicates, so there's no relationship between those informations. So I go and drop those information, I can see, okay, we have 3 segments. So those are actually segments of the users and not for the product. So as you can see, step by step we are learning the data inside our data source. But then the next step, which is interesting, do we have a lot of countries inside our data source? So let's drag and drop the country. As you can see, we have only 1 country, so this data is about the USA data. Then interesting, which regions do we have inside the data? So we have all 4 regions and states and so on. So as you can see, I'm just browsing the data. So this is really important step in order to understand the business and start discussions with the users of those dashboards that you are creating. Reading your data, understanding your data before creating any charts or any visualizations. Alright, so now once you are done browsing and understanding the content of our data, we can go to the next step where we're gonna go and start building our charts. Alright, so now we're gonna start implementing the requirement by creating the charts, and we're gonna start with the first charts where we're gonna go and build bands. So the requirement says display a summary of total sales, profits, and quantity for the current year and the previous year. And let's not forget the requirement that it says the dashboard should allow users to check historical data by offering them the option to select the desired year to be the current year. So now let's start with the first band where we're gonna focus on the total sales. So now let's go to our data, let's go to the orders and check the information that we have inside the sales. Let's grab it to the text over here, and now with us we have the total sales inside our data for all years. But the requirement says we have to show the total sales for the current year. So let's take, for example, the order date and put it to the rows over here. So as you can see, now we have the sales for all years and not only for the current year. So that means I need field that shows only the sales for the last year, for 2023. In order to do that, we have to go and create a new calculated field. So let's go and do that. And we're going to call it current year sales. And then the function is going to be really easy. We're going to check whether the current year is 2023. If it's true, then we're going to show the sales. Otherwise, we will show nothing. And for that, we're going to use the if condition. So let's go and use that. And then what do we need is the year of the order date, because the condition is based on the year. So if the year equals to 2023, then what can happen? We will get the sales, right? Otherwise, if it is not 2023, I don't want anything, so it's gonna be null. So that's it. Let's end it. So again, the logic is very easy. We are checking the year of the order date. If it is 2023, then show the sales. If it's false, then don't show anything. It's gonna be null. So let's go and hit OK. And with that, we got a new calculated fields, the current year sales. Let's go and grab it to the view over here to check the data. So now, as you can see, this field now is showing us only the sales for the current year 2023. So this is for the first fields, but in the requirements it says we need as well to show the sales of the previous year. That means we have to show the sales of the 2022. So in order to do that, we have to create as well again a new calculated field to fulfill this requirement. So let's go to the current year sales and go duplicate it in order to create the new calculated field. So let's go and edit it. So now what we're going to do, it's really simple. Instead of having 2023, we're going to go and make it 1 year less. It can be 2022. All right, so let's go and hit OK. With that, we have the previous year of the sales. So now let's go and check the values. I'm just going to take it and put it here in between those 2 values. And with that, as you can see, we have the previous year of sales. So with that, we have the sales of 2022. So now we have the 2 main calculations for this project. So we have the current year and the previous year for the sales. So how to make those 2 fields dynamic? We can go and use the parameters in Tableau. And now before we create the parameter, we have to create 1 more calculated field in order to have the years of order dates, so that later we can use it inside the parameter. So let me show you what I mean. Let's go and create a new calculated field. Let's call it order date, and it's going to be the years. And then what we're going to say, we're going to use the function year, and inside it, we're going to have the order date. So this field gonna return always the years of the order date. So that's it. Let's go and hit OK. And now we're gonna go and create our parameter. So right click over here and create parameter. Now we have to go and give it a name. It's gonna be select year. And the data type gonna be integer since it's gonna be years, so there is no float. And now we have to define what is allowed to be used as a value inside this parameter. If you leave it all, then the users can go and insert anything, which is not really good because then the users have to go and guess how many years do we have inside our data. But instead of that, we have to give them a predefined list of all years that we have inside our data. And for that, we're gonna go and check a list over here, and then the values inside this parameter are gonna come from the new calculated field that we called it years for the order date. So let's go over here, add value from, and then we're gonna go and pick our new calculated field. This is really good first because it is automatic. You don't have to go and manually add all those years. And second, later maybe you get a new year inside your data and you don't have to go manually and adding those informations. It's gonna be automatically added to the list. So we are almost fine, but I'm not really happy with the format. As you can see, we have here the thousandths point. So let's go to the display format, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the number custom. Let's remove all those decimal places, and as well the display unit is gonna be none. So that's it. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the number custom over here. Let's remove all those decimal places and as well remove the thousand separator. All right, so that's all. Let's click over here. Then as you can see, we have now the years without any separator. That thing that we have to go and make the current value as the last year. So let's go to the current value over here and select 2023. So that's all for this parameter. Let's go and hit OK. And as you can see, we have it on the left side now, the parameters. Let's go and show it for the users. So show parameter to the view. And now the users can go over here and start selecting what is the current year. So as you can see, if I'm selecting the years, nothing is changing inside our view, and that's because we haven't now linked this parameter inside the calculation. And this is exactly our second step. So let's go and do that. Let's go to the current year sales over here and let's go and edit it. And now instead of this static value, the 2023, we're gonna go and add our parameter. So let's write the name of the parameter. It is select year, and that's it. So what you are saying now, if the year of order date equals to the selection from the user, then show the sales, otherwise show nothing. So let's go and hit OK, and let's go and try that. So let's focus on the current year sales, and let's go and change the value to 2022. And as you can see now, the current year for the sales, it is the 2022. And the same if you go over here and make it 2021. So as you can see, everything is dynamic, and the users now can go and select what is the current year. So now the next step with that, we're going to go and integrate it inside the previous year. So let's go to the previous year, edit it. And the same thing, instead of 2022, we're gonna say select year. But now since we are talking about the previous year, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and subtract 1 year. So that's it. Let's go and hit OK. And now let's go and test again. So 2023, everything is fine. Let's go and switch the current year to 2022. So let's do that. And now we can see that both of those two values did react to our selection. So now the previous year is 2021 and the current year is 2022. So with that, we have completed the first requirement inside our user story, where the users can go and decide which year gonna be the current year. And we made it completely dynamic using the parameters. All right, so with that, we have our main calculations for this project, where we have the current year and the previous year of the sales. So now the next step, as we decided in the mockup, we want to show the differences between the current and the previous year, and we're gonna have it as percentage in order to show the KPI. So let's go and create a new calculated field, and we're gonna call it percent difference sales. So the calculation can be really easy. So we're gonna go and subtract the current year of sales from the previous year of sales. But now since we want to present it as a percentage, we have to go and divide it by the previous year. So let's add starting and ending brackets and divide it by sum of previous year. With that, we will get the percentage of the differences between the current year and the previous year for the sales. So let's go and hit OK, and with that we got our new calculated field. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and change the format to percentage. So right click on that, and then let's go to default properties, number format, and now let's go to the percentage, and let's have only one decimal. Let's hit OK. Now in order to show those values here, let's go and remove the year, and now let's go and check the value of the differences between the current and the previous year. And with that, as you can see, the differences between the current year and the previous year is around 29%. So again, we can go and check our parameter to see whether everything is working fine. So let's go to 2023. As you can see, the difference now is only 20%. All right, so with us, we have almost everything that we need in order to build our first pane. So I'm gonna call this first sheet as a test in order just to test the data. So let's go and create a new worksheet, KPI sales, and we can start building our first charts. So now if you check our mockup, our KPI has two parts. The first part gonna be the bands where we have the big numbers, and the second part gonna be the spark line. So here we have two options. Either we're gonna go and make a dedicated sheet for each section, or we make everything in one sheet, like the whole KPI in one sheet, and we're gonna do that. So what we're gonna do, in the title, it's gonna be the band, so we're gonna put all the informations of the band inside the title, and then inside the view, we're gonna go and build our spark line. So let's start with the bands first. What do we need for informations is the current year of sales. Let's go and grab it on the details. And then the second information that we need is the difference of sales. So let's grab it as well to the details over here. And that's it for now. Let's go now to the title and start building the band. So double click on the title. And now in the first line, we're going to give the name of the measure. So it's going to be the total sales. And then the second information, it's going to be the current years of sales. So let's go to insert over here and add the sum of the current year sales. And the third information is going to be the differences. So a new line, and let's go and add our calculation, the difference of sales. So now let's go and hit apply in order to see the information. So as you can see now, we have total sales, we have the total number of sales for this year, and as well at the end we have the differences. So now we're gonna go and start formatting this band. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go over here to the total of sales. Let's make it the font Tableau book, and then let's go and reduce it a little bit more to 14. And now the next thing, we're gonna go to the total sales and we're gonna make it really big. So let's select that. Let's take the font to bold, so Tableau bold, and then let's go and increase the font to, for example, 2022, and make it bold as well. So here we have really to make it really big. So let's go and hit apply just to check the numbers. So as you can see, we have total sales small, then a big number, which is really great. So now for the next one, we're gonna go and select it. Let's choose, for example, the Tableau semi-bold, and then make the size to 20. Then we're gonna go and add the text of versus previous year. All right, so let's go and hit apply. So now everything looks fine. This information is not really relevant to show it very bold inside our data. So let's go over here and change the font back to Tableau book. And as well, let's go and change the coloring as well, something like here, really light gray. So as you can see, everything looks fine. Now let's go and change the coloring and the format of the text, because this is not really irrelevant information. So we're gonna go over here and change it again to Tableau book. And then let's go to the coloring and make it like light gray. Little bit. So let's go and hit OK. Now you can see that our band look really nice. So let's go and hit OK. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go and change the format of the total sales. So right click on the current year of sales, and then let's go to format. Then instead of having the axis, let's go to the pan over here and go to the format of numbers. Let's go to the number custom. Remove the decimal numbers. Let's have the unit as thousands in order to make it more easier to read, and let's add the $sign in the prefix. So now things looks more professional. So we have the $sign, and as well the number is rounded to 1000. All right, so now the next thing what is missing inside our KPI, if you look to the mockup, we have decided to add the KPI symbol. So we need an icon to indicate whether the sales is going up or going down. In order to do that, we're gonna go to the differences and change the format. So let's go to the differences, to the formats, and then let's go to the format of number over here, and let's go to custom. And then we're gonna go and add the following format in order to indicate the KPI. I will leave this format in the description as well in order for you to copy and paste it. So here what we are saying, if the percentage is a positive number, it's gonna be up. If it is a negative number, it's gonna be down. And of course, if you want to add more decimals to the percentage, you can go over here and add a 0. So as you can see, once I add 0, the format gonna change. But now for that, I would like to have only 1 decimal. All right, so that's all. So as you can see, now we have a really professional band where we have the total sales of the current year, and as well we have the differences between the current year and the previous year using a really nice KPI. So now of course we can go and test it. Let's go and show the parameter to the right side. And let's go, for example, to 2022. And as you can see, everything is changing perfectly. 2021. And now you can see the arrow is down because the previous year was higher than the current year perfectly. So with that, as you can see, inside the title, we have created the band. Now the next step is that we're going to go and create the spark line. All right, so now let's go and build our spark line. It's going to be based on the months. Don't forget the requirements. It's to show the current sales based on the month and then compare to the sales of the previous year. So first, let's go and switch the parameter to 2023 and let's go and get our order date to the columns. And now what we're going to do, instead of having years, let's go and switch it to months. And then we're going to go and grab the first measure. It's going to be the current years for the sales. Let's put it to the rows. And now instead of having discrete line, I would like to have it as continuous line. So let's go to the months over here, right click on it and switch it to continuous. So now what we're going to do, we want to compare it to the previous year. In order to do that, so let's go and get the previous years of sales. And now since both of the charts going to be line charts and going to be on top of each other's, we're going to use the measure names and values. So let's drop it on the axis over here. Now you might notice that we have broken our pan. So we have here like a range between the lowest value and the highest value. We don't want that, but we will fix it later. Don't worry about it. So now let's keep focusing on the spark line. So with that, we have our two lines. Now what is missing is to highlight the highest value and the lowest value of the current year. So now in order to get those two circles on top of our view, we have to go and add another measure. But first we have to go and calculate it using calculated fields. So let's go and create a new calculated field and we're going to call it min max of the sales. So now we're going to go and search for the highest and the lowest values of the sales. So in order to do that, we're going to go and check a condition using the if else statements. So let's start with the first one. We're going to say if the sum of the current year, and now we're going to go and check whether this value is the highest between all other current sales. So what we're going to do, we can use the function of window and max, since we are searching for the highest value, and then inside it we are comparing all those current years. So current year of sales. So now we are just checking whether you are the highest value. If it's true, then what can happen? Then show the value. So sum of current year of sales. So that means if you are the highest value, then show yourself, show the value. Otherwise, we're gonna go and search for the lowest value. So else if, we're gonna take the same stuff, sum of the current year equal, but now instead of window max, we're gonna use window min. So I'm just gonna go and copy everything from here and replace the max with min. So now what can happen if you are the lowest value? We're going to do the same, show yourself. So we're going to show as well the value of the current year for the sales. Otherwise, we don't want to see any value. So what we're going to do, we're going to go and say ends. So that's it. The calculation is valid. Let's go and hit OK. So now we have it as a new field, but I would like to test the value, whether it's working. So instead of throwing it now to the visual, let's go into another sheet. Let's grab the order date to the rows, switch it to month. I just want to check whether everything is fine. Let's grab the current year of sales to the view. So now with that, we have the sales of each month. And now let's go and grab the new calculated field, the min max, and drop it over here. So now let's check the table. What is the lowest value? It's going to be the February. So as you can see, we have the min. And what is the highest value? It is November. So now as you can see, this calculation is working. So here my recommendation for you, if you are creating something complicated, always go and test on the table in order to see the numbers before you switch it to like circles or lines, because with those tables we can go and validate better. So let's go back to our KPI sales and let's grab our new value min max sales and drop it to the rows. So with that, we got our new charts because we have a new measure over here, and we have as well in the marks a new tab for the min max. So now let's go to this tab. In order to configure the min max, instead of automatic, we want to have circles, and as well we're gonna go and make it a little bit bigger in order to see those circles. So we have here the min and the max. And now let's go to the first chart. So we're gonna go and switch it over here and make sure instead of automatic it's a line, because we're gonna go as a next and merge those two charts in one. So in order to do that, we're gonna go and use the dual axis. So right click on the min max over here, use the dual axis, the axis on the right side, and maybe just hide it from the right side over here. So as you can see, we have now those circles on top of our line charts. And with that, we are highlighting the highest and the lowest value inside our spark line. So now we have our spark line, but now let's go back to our pan and fix it. So as you can see, we have a range, and that's because inside the view, we are using the month as continuous fields, and Tableau gonna go and make it as a range. And this is the disadvantage of having everything in one chart. They are like related to each other's. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and fix it by doing the following. So now in order to fix this, we're gonna use a trick in order to make it fix and does not like react to the things that we have inside our view. So let's go and double click on the first one, and we're gonna add at the end open brackets. So let's add it at the end and as well to the starts, and let's go and hit OK. And as you can see, nothing is changed because we have to go inside the title and change stuff, but let's keep changing those stuff. Let's go to the second one, double click on it, open brackets at the end, and let's add it to the starts. So let's go and hit OK. So now the next step is that we're going to go inside the title and start fixing it. So double click on it. And as you can see, missing fields, because for Tableau, this is a new field. So side by side, I'm going to go and add the sum of the current year of sales. And then I'm going to go and remove the missing fields. The same thing for the second one. We're going to go and add the differences and remove the missing field. And as well, we have to go and change the coloring again from red because it was a warning. And let's add it as black for the second one as well. Alright, so let's go and hit OK. So now as you can see, everything is back to normal and we have again our pan. Alright, so with that we have built our chart, and the next step is that we're going to go and format it in order to make it a beautiful chart, right? And this includes a lot of stuff like removing the lines, removing the grids, removing the headers, axes, adding coloring, simplify everything, right? So let's start with the easy stuff where we're going to go and remove those grids and those lines. So right click here on the empty space, go to format, and then we're going to go to the left side over here. Let's go to the lines. Let's check the 0 lines to none. Let's go to the rows, remove the grid as well. So now as you can see, we don't have any lines here in the middle. Let's go to the grid over here and let's go to the sheet and start removing everything. Like any line should be none. So with that, we are removing everything inside our grid. Alright, so now as you can see, we have cleaned up all those lines inside our chart and everything looks really clean. The next step is that we're going to go and work with the axes and headers. Let's go and remove the axes over here. So right click on it and let's remove the header. So now you might ask why we are removing a lot of stuff, and that's because in the dashboards, if you add a lot of informations, you're going to distract the users and they will not focus on the important stuff, which is showing the trends inside the view. So we have to reduce a lot of informations and only present the relevant informations. So really here we have to be very minimalist in the design. So now what is left is the months over here. So right click on that. Let's go to the edit axe. We want to remove the title from it. So let's go and remove that. And as well, we're going to go and indicate that those informations are months. So right click on that and format. And then let's go to the dates over here and let's have an abbreviate. So as you can see, now we have abbreviations of each month. Let's go and clear this. So now the goal is to show for the users this spark line is based on the months and we don't want to show all those information. So it's enough to show only few values. So I would like now to show only January and December and remove all other information. So once you see it's January and December, you will immediately understand this is based on the months. So what we're going to do, we're going to go and edit the axe again and change the axis. So let's go to the tick marks over here and let's go to fixed. And now next we're going to go and change the ticks. So it's going to start from January and it's going to show the value of December. So after the interval of 11 values, it's going to show the last month. So as you can see now, we are showing January and only December, and everything is between is not shown. So that's it. Let's go and close it. And as well, we have those nulls. Let's go and remove them. So right click and hide indicators. So now as you can see, we have everything cleaned up and we have only the line charts. And here we are indicating that it's based on the month. Of course, now what is left is the coloring of our charts. So as I said, I'm following here only 4 colors. So here we have our basic colors, but now let's go and change those informations. So now we're going to go and change the lines. Let's go to the lines over here and start working on the coloring. So edit colors. So now I would like to have the current year of sales to be very dark gray and the previous year gonna be like in the background as light gray. In order to do that, let's go and double click on the first value. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna add our colors inside the custom colors over here in order to configure it only once and keep using it in all other charts. So let's start configuring the colors. Let's click on the first cell over here. So make sure you are selecting it. Then let's make it as something like here, very dark gray. And then the next we're gonna go and add to custom colors. So let's click on that. So with that, as you can see, we have defined the first color and let's go and hit OK. So with that, we have defined the first color. Let's go to the previous year sales and as well make a new color. So let's go to the cell over here beneath it and let's make it something like here. It's gonna be the light gray and let's make it more lighter. All right, something like this. Let's add to custom colors and hit OK. All right, so now let's go and hit OK. And with that, as you can see, the current year is going to be the black one or the very dark gray. And in the background, we have the previous year of sales. So now next, we're going to go and change the coloring of those 2 circles. So let's go to the min max and the marks over here. And let's grab the min max sales by holding Control and put it to the colors. All right, so now let's go to colors, edit colors. And now instead of automatic, let's go and switch it to custom over here, the last one. And then we're going to change the steps to only 2 steps. So now we're going to start on the right color where we're going to define the max value. So let's go inside and now we're going to define our third color. So let's click on empty cell over here and let's add the code of our third color, the turquoise. All right, then let's go and add to custom colors over here. So as you can see, we have our third color. Let's click OK. And now we have to define the left color. It's going to be the min value. So click on that and we're going to define our fourth color. So click on the empty cell over here And let's add the code for the orange, and then let's go and add it to custom colors. And with that, we got our 4 colors that we're going to use in all our charts inside these projects. So that's it. Let's hit OK and hit OK. And now, as you can see, we got our 2 circles, the highest value, the min value, using our coloring. And now the last touch that I'm going to add to this chart is to reduce the opacity of those 2 circles. So let's go to the colors over here and reduce it from 100 to something like 70%. So that's it. All right, so now the next step after formatting our charts, what we're going to do, we're going to go and work on the tooltip. So if you mouse over anywhere in the lines, you can see that we have a tooltip and it's not really nice. So as you can see, it looks like calculations and not human readable. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go and edit those informations. So now in order to do that, let's go to the tooltip over here in the marks, and then we're going to get this box. So here we can see in this window, it's very similar like you are editing a title or any text in Tableau. So here you have 2 different types of text. The one that is not highlighted, this is going to be static, and the one that is highlighted with this light gray background, it's going to come from the charts. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go and remove all those informations and start creating our tooltip. So let's start with the first one, sales, and then we're going to have off, and then we're going to go and add the month. So we're going to go over here into insert, and then let's insert the month order date. And here we're going to go and add the current year. We can go and use, for example, the parameter for the selected year, but we're going to have a problem as we're going to show the sales of the previous year. So for that, in order to show the years inside the tooltip, we're going to go and create some calculated fields. So let's just close this and we're going to go back to it later. So now just check the tooltip. As you can see, we are going to get the sales of March, April, and so on. So we don't have a lot of informations, but now let's go and create a new calculated field. And now we're going to call it the current year. So it's going to be really simple. It's going to be the value that the user selected from the parameter. So that's it, select year. Let's hit OK. And now as you can see, we have the current year in the data pane. Let's go and create another one for the previous year. And it's going to be as well select year, but this time we're going to subtract 1 year from it. So that's it. Let's go and hit OK. But now I would like to go and change them to dimensions because they are not measures. So right click on the current year and let's change it to dimension, the same for the previous year. So let's go and convert both of them to dimensions. All right, so now we're going to go and grab all the informations that we need in the tooltip to this box over here, to the tooltip. And as well, the previous year, just drag and drop it on top of this box here. And let's go and show the informations about the current sales and the previous sales and the differences between them. All right, so now we have all the information that we need for the tooltip. Let's go inside the tooltip and start configuring it. So let's go over here. And now after the month, what we're going to do, we're going to have a comma, and then let's mention the year. So it's going to be the current year, this one over here. All right, so after that, let's have double points and let's go and insert the current sales. So insert, and now make sure to select the current year of sales for this one over here and not the fixed one. So it's like fixed, but now we would like to show in the tooltip the sales of the current month. So in order to do that, we're going to go and select the sum of the current year for the sales without any fixed. So let's go and select that. We're going to go and do the same stuff now for the previous year. So sales of, we're going to add again the month. So now we're going to go and do the same stuff for the previous year. So sales of, we're going to have again the month. So let's go and grab the month, comma, and then we're going to go and add the previous year. So it's going to be this one over here. So previous year, double points, and then let's go that gets the sales of the previous year. Okay, so now the next information, the next line going to be the sales differences. So let's say differences, then double points, and now let's go and add that differences. And here again, make sure to not use the fixed one that we have inside the title. Let's go and get the variable one. So the one that we added from the data pane. So this one. All right, the last information that we're going to show inside our tooltip is the min-max values. So the highest, lowest, sales, double points, and let's go and grab our measure. It's going to be the min-max sales. So let's go and select that. All right, so that's all the information that we want to add inside our tooltip. Let's go and hit OK and check the results. So for example, let's go to the blue point over here. So now we can see that the sales of the current year for the month November, it had this value, and as well it can be compared for the sales of the previous year for the same month. And then we can see the sales differences and what is the highest and lowest value. So now as you can see, as we are moving to different months, the values inside the tooltip gonna change. So now as you can see, the format and the design of our tooltip is not really nice, right? So for example, we have the thousands dots and as well everything bold, so it's not really easy to read. As well, the alignment of those informations are not really nice. So now we're gonna go and format it. All right, so now let's start first with formatting the current and the previous year. So let's go to the current year and let's have the default properties and then format number. We're gonna have it as custom. Let's reduce the decimal numbers and as well remove include thousand separator. All right, so now let's go and hit OK and let's just test. So now as you can see 2023 don't have any dot. Let's go and do the same for the previous year. So let's go to the default properties and then number format, and as well let's go to the number custom, reduce the decimals and remove the thousand separator. So now the next one, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and adjust the format of the numbers. As you can see, the current month has different format than the previous month. So now in order to do that, let's go to the previous sales over here, right click on it, and let's go again to the default properties, number format, and we're gonna go again to the number custom. Let's remove the decimals. The unit display is gonna be thousands, and we're gonna add the dollar sign. So let's go and add it and then hit OK. So now let's check again. So now we can see now both of the numbers have the same bar format. Let's check the max and min. You can see the max and min has as well the same problem. So let's go to the min max value as well to the default properties, number format, and then let's go to the custom, remove decimals, add the dollar sign, and don't forget to add the unit. So it's gonna be a thousand. So let's go and hit OK. All right, so now all our numbers has exactly the same format. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and format the text. So let's go back to the tooltip over here. All right, so now we're gonna go and work with two colors, the light and very dark gray. So let's select the first part where we have a text. We don't have a value. So this is gonna get the light gray. Let's take this value over here and let's remove the bold as well. Alright, so now let's do the same for all other stuff. So we're gonna select the text, have the light gray, remove the bold, as well for the next informations. Alright. So now next for the next informations, as you can see, they have exactly the color that we need, and as well they are bold. So make sure that everything has a dark gray and as well as the bold. So everything so far is fine. Let's go and hit OK and test. So let's hover to this point over here. So now as you can see, it's really easy to read where we have a different coloring for the text and the value. All right, so now the last thing that we're gonna do inside the tooltip is that we're gonna change the alignment of the numbers. So as you can see, all those numbers starts from different positions. So now let's go and change the alignments. In order to do that, let's go again to the tooltip. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and add a tab exactly after the double points and make sure there are no white spaces. So we're gonna go over here to the first one. Let's add a tab. And now let's go to the second one. I believe we have here an empty space. So let's just remove it and add a tab. All right, so for the next one, I believe I have a space. So let's remove it and add a tab. And for the last one, the same thing, remove the space and add a tab. The tab can go and automatically and do the alignment for all those numbers. So that's it. So we have all the tabs. Let's go and hit OK. And now let's go and test. So as you can see, all the numbers start from the same position. Let's go to the point over here as well. So as you can see, everything looks really nice. All right, so with that we are done, and we added a very nice and readable tooltip inside our charts. So let's do a quick summary for the steps. First, we create our calculated fields that we need inside our charts and we do testing. Then the next step, we start building the chart. The third step, we start cleaning and adding format to the charts and the coloring as well. And the last step, we go and work on the tooltip. Perfect. So with that, we are done formatting the KPI of sales and everything look really beautiful. So now we're gonna go and do exactly the same stuff twice, once for the profit and once for the quantity. So we're gonna do exactly the same stuff by creating the measures, creating the titles, and then the spark line. So now what you're gonna do, you're gonna pause the video and start creating those two KPIs exactly following the same stuff, starting by creating the calculated field for the current year of the profits and ending up by having something very similar to here, but instead of total sales, you should have the numbers from the profits. So I'm gonna go and do it offline and then we're gonna meet.
2 hours later.
Alright, so that was a lot of calculations and a lot of stuff, but exactly the same steps. So I hope with that you are done building the other two KPIs. So now we have a KPI for profits, for quantity, and as well for sales. And all of them looks like really similar. Alright, so now we are halfway there. We are done with the first two requirements. Then the second two requirements is to build the charts about the subcategories and the weekly trends. So now let's start with the first one, the subcategory comparison. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and compare the current year and the previous year of sales by that subcategory. And as well, we're gonna go and add the profit informations. And we have decided in the mockup to use bar in bar charts for the sales of the current and previous year, and as well another separated bar chart for the profits. Alright, so now let's go in Tableau and create these charts. Let's go and create a new worksheet. Let's call it subcategory comparison Alright, so now the first step is that we're gonna go and ask ourselves, do we have all the data that we need for this chart, or do we have to create any calculated fields? I think for these charts we are safe, we have almost everything. So this is what usually happens in the project. For the first chart you're gonna end up creating a lot of calculated fields, but as you are creating views and charts, you will have less need of creating new calculated fields. So now let's go immediately and start building our charts. Let's go and get our subcategory. So we're gonna go to the products over here, drag and drop it to the rows, and then we need the two measures, previous year and the current year. So let's start with the previous year of sales. Let's drop it to the columns. So this is going to be the first bar where we have it in the background. Now let's go and get the second bar for the current year of sales. So drag and drop it to the view over here. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go and bring them together in one chart on top of each other's. But before that, I would like and go and format it a little bit so that immediately we're going to get the bar and bar chart. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the second tab here in the marks, and let's go and make the size smaller. And now next we're going to go and change the color as well. So let's go to the color over here and let's go to more colors in order to get our colors right. So let's get the dark one and hit OK. And next what I'm going to do, instead of automatic, I'm going to make it bar in order to make sure that once we merge everything, it stays as bar and doesn't break. So now let's go to the background, to the left one, and format it as well. So let's go to the colors, more options, and now we're going to get the light gray. So let's select that and hit OK. Alright, and as well, we're going to make sure that it is a bar chart. Alright, so with that, we have got the background and the front. Let's go and merge them, right? So let's go to the current year of sales, right click on it, and let's use the dual axis. Great, now we have bar in bar, but as usual, we have to go and synchronize them. So right click on the current year of sales, synchronize axis, and as usual, we're gonna go and hide it. So right click on it and hide the header. Alright, so with that, we have the bar in bar chart. We will go and format it later, don't worry about the look and feeling of these charts. Let's go and add the profit now, right? So let's go and grab the current year of profit and drag and drop it to the columns as well. So as you can see, it's really easy, right? We got now a second chart for the profit side by side to the sales. So now the next thing that I'm gonna go and show the parameter as well in order to test it. So let's go and show parameter, and now let's go and change the year, for example, to 2022, and see that everything is changing. So everything is working as intended. So let's go back to 2023. Alright, so that's it. We have created the charts. It's really easy working with bar charts compared to the KPIs, right? So now let's go to the next step where we're gonna go and start cleaning, formatting, changing the color, changing the sizes. So let's go and do that. So first, let's go and hide all the lines inside our grid. So right click on the empty space, go to format. Let's go first to the lines and check what do we have over here. So make sure to have the 0 line, away, rows, columns. So let's go and remove the columns as well. So that's it for the line. Let's go and switch to the borders or to the grid, and let's go to the sheet over here and start removing everything. So we don't need any lines. So that's it. Now our chart is really clean and we don't have any lines. Next, we're gonna go and start hiding the axis and some informations in the headers. So let's go to the axis over here and remove the header. And as well, we can go to the headers informations over here, but we want to just hide the title, the subcategories. So right click on it and then hide the label. So with that, we removed it. We don't need it because we have it in the title later. Alright, so now the next step is that we're going to go and start formatting the coloring and the fonts and so on. So now let's go to those informations, to the subcategory, right click on it and let's go to format. And now let's go to the font over here. Let's make it dark, and as well, let's go change the font to a medium, Tableau medium, and let's make it 10. So in order to make it more clean. Alright, so that's all for this information. Now let's go and start formatting the charts. So now what we're going to do first, let's go and change the sizing of those bars on the left side. So let's go to the previous sales. It's going to be the background. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And then let's go to the front one, to the current year, and make it thinner. So let's go to the size over here and just make it smaller in order to see the effect of bar and bar. Alright, so this is way better than before. So that's it. And of course, here's the coloring is working because we changed that before. But now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and change the coloring of the profit. So let's go to the current profit. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna add the measure to the color. So hold Control and drag and drop the profit on the colors. Alright, so now let's go and edit those colors. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and change the steps to 2 steps, and let's change the positive and the negative values. So the positive one, we're gonna use our color over here, the turquoise, and then for the lower value, we're gonna use the orange. So let's go and change that. So that's it. Let's go and hit OK. And with that, we can immediately identify which subcategories has a positive profits and which one has a negative one. Alright, so now we are done with this step where we have cleaned and format everything inside these charts. But now before we go to the next step where we're going to work with the tooltip, I would like to add here a KPI to indicate where do we have an issue. That means I'm going to show an icon when the current year is less than the previous year. So in order to do that, we're going to go and create the KPI. Let's go and create a new calculated field. Let's call it KPI current year less than previous year. So now it's really easy. If the current year is less than the previous year for the sales, we're going to show an icon. So in order to do that, we're going to use the condition. So if, and we're going to check the sum of the current year of sales is smaller than the sum of the previous year for sales. So what's going to happen? We're going to go and show an icon. So we're going to say then, and we're going to add the circle. And now, of course, the question is how to copy the circle. I'm going to leave this calculation in the description for you to copy and paste. So now, what's going to happen if the condition is not fulfilled? So we're going to say else is just empty. So that's it. Let's end it. So the calculation is valid. Let's go and hit OK. And now what we're going to do, we're going to grab this new calculated field and just put it in front of the subcategory. So now we can see immediately where we have bad performance for the sales. We have 3 categories with these 3 circles. So now let's go and format it. I'm just going to grab the bars and put it side by side to those circles. And then we're going to go and change the colors as well. So right click on the circle. Let's go to format. And then let's go to the font over here. Let's go to more colors. And we're going to go and get the orange since it is always like a loss. So let's go and hit OK. So of course we can go and test stuff. Let's go and change the year to 2022. So we have here again different subcategories with issues. And let's go to 2021, and here we can see we have a lot of subcategories where the current year is less than the previous year. Alright, so as you can see, it's really nice KPI in order to show immediately where do we have in issues. So now let's go and switch it to 2023, and with that we have our KPI. But now I would like and go and sort the data in order to have it as a rank. So let's go to the subcategory over here, and let's go to sort, and then let's go and switch it to a field. And we're going to choose the field to be the current year of the sales. And let's have it as descending. So we have like a rank. All right, perfect. Let's go and close it. All right, so that's it. I'm really happy with the view. Let's go now to the last step where we can adjust the tooltip. Okay, so as first step, let's go and add few informations to our tooltip. So what we're going to do, we're going to go and grab the previous year of sales. So by holding control, put it in tooltip, the current year and the profits. And then we're going to go and grab our current year and the previous year, and as well let's go and add the differences between sales to the tooltip as well. Alright, so now let's go inside and start configuring those stuff. So let's check. The first one gonna stay as it is, so the subcategory. Then let's have next the current sales. So I'm just gonna cut it and paste it over here, but I would like to go and change the text. So it's gonna be sales of, and then we have to go and insert the year, right? So the current year, and then we're gonna add the double points and make sure to remove the space and add a tab. All right, so the next line gonna be about the previous year. So I'm just gonna cut and paste and then change the text to sales of, and let's go and insert the previous year. So let's just make sure that we have a tab after the double points. Perfect. And then let's go and add the differences. So let's go and get the differences over here. It looks nice. I'm going to leave it as it is. And then the last info, I'm going to go and add the profit. So we're going to add the profit over here. So profits of, and then let's go and add the year, the current one. So the profit of the current year, it's going to be the sum of the current year of profit. So let's make sure that we have the tab. So that's it. Let's go and remove everything else. And with the coloring, everything looks fine. Let's go and hit OK. So now let's go and test it. And now we can see everything like formatted really nicely. So the subcategory is machines, the sales of the 2023, 2022, the differences between them, and the profits. And you will get as well the same informations if you go over here to the right side to the profits. So now the last thing that I'm going to change is the format of that 2023 for the sales. So let's go and change that. Right click on it, and then let's go to format, the usual stuff. We're going to go to the number, to the custom, remove the decimals, add the units, and then the prefix of $sign. So that's it. So now let's go and test it. And with that, you can see the numbers of sales and profits follow exactly the same format. So that's it for the tooltip and the last step for this chart. Now everything looks really professional. So with that, we have completed the third requirement for this dashboard, where we compare the sales and profit informations by the subcategory. Alright, so now we're gonna move to the last requirement, to the last chart for our dashboard. We're gonna create a line chart in order to show the weekly trends for sales and profit. And as well, we have to show the average line for both sales and profit. And we have to highlight what is above the line and below the line. So let's go and create a new worksheet. So we're gonna call it the weekly trends. Alright, so now the first step, do we have all the data that we need in order to build the chart? Well, yes, we have the current year for the profit and for the sales. Then that means we can now go and jump immediately building our charts. So since it is a weekly trends, we need the order date. So let's go and get the order date, put it to the columns, and now let's change it from year to weeks. So right click on it. Let's go over here to the more and then week number. But we would like to get a continuous line. It's always better than a discrete line. So right click on the weeks over here and let's switch it from discrete to continuous. Alright, so with that we got the number of the weeks, and now let's go and get our measures. So the first one gonna be the current year for the sales, and the next one gonna be the current year for the profits. And with that our view is split into two charts, one for the sales and one for the profits. And with that we can see the weekly sales and the weekly profits. Alright, the next step is that we're gonna go and add the reference line for each measure. So let's start with the sales, right click on it and let's go and add a reference line. So here we have everything prepared, everything is fine, average of the sales. I'm gonna go and change the label from computation to custom, and let's add the following. So average, and then space, and now let's go and add a value. And that's it for now. So with that we have a really nice average line inside our chart for the sales. Let's go and do the same for the profit. So right click over here, add a reference line. So now the value is the profit and the calculation is average. Let's go and change the label to the same stuff. So average and then space. Let's go and insert the value, and that's it. Let's go and hit OK. So with that we have fulfilled the two requirements. First we have the trends for both of the sales and the profit, and we have an average line for both of the measures. Now you might ask why we don't go and merge those two charts in one using the dual axis. Well, I would do that if we don't have average lines. So imagine now we merge both of them and then we will get two average lines. It's going to be really hard to read the charts. So for this scenario, since we are focusing on the average, it doesn't make sense to merge them together. Then it's going to be really hard to read. So that means for these requirements, we're going to leave them separated from each other's. Well, that's it for building the charts. It's really easy, right? So now we're going to go to the fun part, to the next step where we're going to start cleaning, formatting, adding colors. So let's start doing that. We're gonna start by removing the lines. So right click on the middle, let's go to format, and now first we start with the lines. So let's remove any lines inside the sheets, inside the rows and the columns. Alright, but this time we will not go to the grid and remove any lines because they are really important in order to separate both of those charts. So we will not touch anything here. So only the lines and not the borders. Alright, so that's all about cleaning up the lines. Let's go now and clean up and format our axes and headers. So let's start with the weeks over here. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go and just remove the title. So let's go over here, remove the title in order to have more space. Alright, so now let's go and format those axes. I will just change the title to only sales. So let's remove the first part. The same thing for the profits. Let's just have only profits. So that's it. And now we still have an issue. We have different formats for the numbers. So as you can see, we have here the $sign, and on the sales we don't have it. So let's go and format it this time from the data pane. So right click on the current year of sales. Let's go to the default properties, number formats. As usual, we can remove the decimals, add the unit, and add the $sign. So that's it, hit OK. Now as you can see, we have exactly the same format and as well for the average. Alright, so that's it for the axes and headers. Let's go and now format the reference line. So right click on the reference line, let's go to format, and now what we're gonna do, we're gonna change the line to a dashed line and as well increase the opacity to around 30%. Alright, and as well let's change the color of the font to make it a little bit darker. Okay, so that's it for the first one. Let's do the same stuff for the second average line. Right click on it, go to format, change it to dash, and let's increase the opacity, so around 40%. And the font, let's make it darker. Alright, so with that we have formatted both of those average lines. So with that we have formatted everything around our chart. So now we're gonna go and start formatting our line charts. So now what we can do for those lines, we can change it from linear to steps in order to make it more interesting. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to all, and then let's go to path, and then instead of having the linear, let's go to the steps. So now as you can see, our chart's gonna look more interesting than the boring linear. So now let's talk about the coloring of those two charts, because we have a requirement that says we have to highlight the weeks that's above the average and as well the below average. So we're gonna use the coloring in order to do the highlights. And now we might say it's really easy. Let's go to the colors for example to the sales. Let's hold control and put the colors over here. Well, you can do that, but it's not really 100% correct because you can see we have the light colors below the average and we still have here as well a light color above the average. So in order to be more precise, we have to go and create calculated field for the coloring. So let's go and do that first for the sales. Let's go and create a new calculated field. We're gonna call it KPI sales average, and for this calculation we want only two values as an output, either it is above the line or below the line. So in order to do that, we have to go and check that using the if-else statements. So let's start with the if statements, and let's say if the sum of sales of the current year for the sales is higher than the average. So let's say higher, and now in order to check the average for the weeks, what we're gonna do, we're gonna use the window average function, and then inside it we're gonna have our aggregated field, the sum of current year for the sales. So now what we are doing over here, we are just checking whether the sales is higher than the average sales. But we are using the window function because we care only about this window, this year. So we don't want to have the average of all other years. We are just focusing on the window that we have inside our chart. So what can happen if the condition is fulfilled? So let's have then, we're gonna have the value above. Otherwise, we're gonna have the value below. So that's it. Let's end it. So with that, the calculation is valid. Let's go and hit OK. And with that, we got our new dimension. Let's now and move it to the colors instead of the sum of sales. So now we can see immediately that anything below the average has the color of orange and anything above the average has the color of blue. So let's go and change the coloring to our colors. Let's go and edit the colors. And now let's go to above, double click on it. Let's have our blue or turquoise. Then let's go to the below and get our second color. So that's it. Let's hit OK. Perfect. So now we have it. We are highlighting what is above and what is below the average. Let's go and do the same stuff for the profits. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go and duplicate the same calculation and then let's go and edit it. So now we're going to go and replace the sales with the profits. So let's start with the title, profits. Let's remove the copy. Let's have the current year of the profit and as well here, the current year of profit as well. So everything is fine. So as you can see, we are doing exactly the same stuff, but only for the profits. Let's go and hit OK. And then what we're going to do, we're going to go switch to the profit in the marks and let's grab our new calculated field to the colors. So let's go and do that. And the next step, we're going to go and change the coloring. So edit colors, the above going to be the turquoise and the below going to be the orange. So that's it. Let's hit OK. Alright, so with that we are as well highlighting the stuff in the profit above and below the line, and with that we have covered all the requirements for these charts. But now as usual, don't forget always to test, so let's go and select the years and show it to the parameter to the right side, and we can start testing the other years whether everything is fine. So as you can see, everything is nice. Now we're going to go to the last step where we're going to add the tooltips. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the all over here and let's add the current year information to the tooltip. We don't need the previous year because here we are not comparing the current and the previous. So now let's go to the tooltip and check what do we have over here. I think we have almost everything that we need. So now let's go and change a little bit stuff. So instead of week of order date, let's have the number of week. And as well, let's just make sure that we have a tab after the double points. And then the next one, we don't need it. So now the next one, we're going to have the current year for the sales. I'm just going to go and rename it sales of. And now let's go and insert the current year. And as well, make sure that we have a tab after the double points. Then the next one is going to say whether it is above or below the average. So what we're going to do, we're going to remove this part over here and we're going to have above or below. And after that, we're going to add the static word, the average. So since it's static, let's go and format it. So let's remove the bold and make it light gray. Okay, so now let's go and do the same stuff for the profit. So instead of the current year of profit, we're going to say profit of, let's go and add the current year, then double points, make sure there is no spaces, and then a tab. And the same stuff for the average KPI. So we're going to say the average and as well format it. Alright, so I think this is nice. Let's go and test it. So let's go and hit OK. Alright, so now let's go and test. If I check any value above the average for sales, we can see that the number of week, the sales of 2023, and it says it is above the average. So if we go below the average, we will get below the average. So as you can see, everything is working perfectly. Let's go to the profits. So we have above the average over here, and we got the profit of 2023. And if we go below the average, and we can see it is below the average, everything is perfect. And with that, we have covered the last chart inside our requirements. So that means we have now all the sheets that we need for the dashboard. So the next step that we're going to go and start building the dashboard. Alright, so now we're going to start talking about building the dashboards. The first step is that we have to plan the structure and the containers of our dashboard. Alright, so now let's start sketching the container structure. The first one is, as usual, going to be the main container, and it's going to be a vertical container. And then we're going to start from top to bottom. So first we have like a title and 2 buttons. So for that we can include a horizontal container where we have the title and the buttons. Moving on below that, we have the information of the KPIs. So we have side-by-side objects. Here again, we're going to go and use another container, another horizontal container, in order to have all those KPIs side by side. Then moving on below that, we have the charts, right? So it's again 2 charts side by side, and we will use a third horizontal container for them. So this is the main object that we have inside the main vertical container. But of course, in our dashboards, we have as well a lot of filters. So what we're going to do, we're going to build a vertical container where we're going to put all the filters for the dashboards. But this container is going to be outside of the main vertical container, and we will use the floating options. And this vertical container is going to be outside of the main container, the vertical container. And for that, we're going to use the option of floating and as well the ability to hide it or show it. So I would say we will go with this plan, and of course it is a plan. So that means as we are building the dashboard, sometimes we add like an extra container to organize stuff. So we will not cover everything in the plan 100%, but we will cover the main stuff. Alright, so now with that we have a plan for our dashboards. Let's go and implement it in Tableau. Alright, so now let's go and create a new dashboard, and we're gonna call it sales dashboard. So now the first step that I usually do is fixing the size. So let's go on the left side to the size, change it from range to fixed size, and then let's go to the width. I usually go with the 1200, and for the height, let's go for 800. Okay, so with that we got enough white space for our dashboard. And I usually start with the main container, but since we have another container which is going to be hidden and shown for the filters, I'm going to start with that first. So now in order to create this vertical container, I have a quick way in order to catch it. So what we're going to do, we're going to take any worksheet. Let's for example go with the KPI sales. Let's drag and drop it to the middle. So as you can see, Tableau can go and automatically create a vertical container on the right side where it's going to put everything inside it, the parameters, filters, legends, and so on. And this is the container that we can use for our filters. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go and convert it to a floating element or floating container. So in order to do that, hold shift and then click on this icon over here and then just move it. So as you can see now it's like freed, and let's drop it anywhere. So now let's just move it here to the end, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and remove this chart because we have to go now and build the main container. So let's go and just remove it, and as you can see we still have it here on the right side. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and color the container. So make sure to select the container over here. Let's go to the layout, and then let's go to the border, make it a line, and then let's choose any color, for example the purple one. And as well, let's go and put a background for it, maybe the purple as well. So with that, we can see that we have here a container, a floating container on the right side. And the next step, we're gonna go and give it a name. So we have it here in the item hierarchy. Let's go to the vertical container, click on it, and then let's give it the name of filter. So container, filter. Alright, so now we have our first container. Let's go back and start building the main container for the dashboards. So let's go back to the dashboard and let's grab a vertical container for the main one. So let's drop it here in the middle, and now we're gonna go and add the coloring for it. So let's go to the layout, let's go to the borders, and let's have it as an orange. And as well, I would like to add a background color for that. So let's take the orange as well. So with that, we have our main container. On the left side, you can see we have the tildes and then the vertical container. Let's go and rename it. I'm just gonna make it a little bit bigger over here. So we're gonna say you are the main container. Alright, so now the next step is that we're gonna go and add blanks in order to have a placeholder for the elements inside this container. So let's just go and add one, and then let's go with the first container inside the main one. We have the horizontal container for the title. So let's take a horizontal container, just drag and drop it here below. Make sure that is inside the main container. So do that carefully. Alright, so we have our horizontal container. Let's go and put some coloring on it. Layout, border, and let's make it blue. And as well for the background, let's have it as well as blue. So now of course, let's go and check stuff over here. So we have the vertical container, we have our blank on top, and then we have the horizontal container. Let's go and rename it. You are the container for the title. Alright, so now let's go inside it and put some content. So what we have a text. So let's drag and drop it inside the horizontal container. So let's say you are the sales dashboard. We will format everything later. So that's it. Let's go and hit OK. So now as you can see, our container can be very small. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And now we have to go and add the 2 buttons. So let's go with the navigations. make sure to add it inside to the right side, right? Because it is horizontal container. So let's go and drop it, and we need another one. So let's go and drop it as well to the right side or in the middle, doesn't matter. All right, so now let's go quickly and check the layout to make sure that everything is fine. So inside the title, we have a text and then 2 buttons. Great. So now let's go to the next content. We're gonna have another container for the KPIs. So let's go again to the dashboard and take horizontal container and make sure to put it beneath the first container. So let's drop it over here and now make sure to click it and let's go and add the coloring to it. So it's gonna be line and as well blue. The background is going to be as well blue. All right, so now the next step, we're going to go and add again a name for it. So let's go inside. You are the container for the KPIs. Okay, so now let's go and add some content inside it using the blanks. So the first blank, make sure to drop it in the second horizontal container. And now we have it very small. So let's go and extend it. And then let's grab another one. Make sure to put it on the right side. So now with that, we have 2 blanks. And let's go and grab the third one to the right side. So with that, we have our 3 placeholders for the KPIs. And again, I always go back to the layout to check that everything is fine. So as you can see, those 3 planks are inside the KPI, so everything is clean. Let's go back now to the dashboard and add the last container for the charts. So we're gonna go and grab again a horizontal container, drop it below the middle one, and let's go and add some coloring to it. So let's go to the layout. We add some border, blue, and as well a background for that. Now let's go and give it a name. So you are the container for the charts. Okay, so now let's go and add some blanks in order to have some content inside it. So the first blank inside it, and now we have it very small. So let's extend it, and the second blank to the right side. So now we have 2 places for our charts. Let's go to the layout and check. As you can see, we have the 2 planks underneath the charts. Alright, so with that we have the 3 containers for our content. Let's go and remove the first blank since we don't need it anymore. So we have it in the top over here. Let's go and drop it. So with that we have built the foundation, the structure of our dashboard. So we have the container for the title, we have the 3 KPIs and then place for the 2 charts. And as well we have here on the right side our floating container for the filters. Alright, so as you can see it's really easy. Just do it slowly, step by step, check everything, give it a name, don't rush it. Alright, so that's all for this step. Now finally let's go to the step where we're gonna put everything together and put the content inside our dashboard. Okay, so now let's go and put all our content inside our dashboards. Don't worry about the filters, we're gonna do it at the end. So let's start with the KPIs, right? So we're gonna take the first one, the KPI of sales, make sure to put it near the blanks, and then let's go and grab the second one next to it, and the quantity as well next to it. So let's go to the layout to check everything. So as you can see, we have this container for the KPIs, and inside it we have our 3 KPIs. Now we don't need anymore the blanks. Let's go and start deleting them. Alright, so now let's keep going and put the other charts inside our dashboards. Let's take the subcategory, make sure to be inside the 3rd horizontal container. So let's drop it over here. And then the last chart is going to be the weekly trend. Let's drop it side by side over here. So let's go to the layouts and check. So as you can see, the horizontal container for the charts has our 2 charts and the 2 blanks. Let's go and remove the blanks. Great, so now you can check again our structure in the item hierarchy to see that everything should be looking like this. So we have the main container where we have inside it 3 horizontal containers. The title should has the title and the 2 buttons, and then the KPI should has the 3 KPIs, and the chart should has the 2 charts. So if you have it like this, that means everything so far is clean and we are on a good way. Alright guys, so that's it for this step. We have the main content inside our dashboard and it was very easy and fast. So now in the next step, things gonna get interesting where we can start formatting, coloring, positioning the stuff in order to have a clean and professional dashboard. Okay, so now let's start formatting our dashboard. The first step is that we're gonna go and make sure that our content is distributed evenly in each container. So let's go to the KPI container over here, make sure to select it, and let's go to this small arrow and let's click on distribute contents evenly. Alright, so let's move to the next one. As you can see, those 2 charts are not distributed evenly. So let's select the container and let's go to the more options and distribute it evenly. So with that, we're gonna get a fair alignment for all charts. We will not do that for the first container because the title should be bigger than the navigation buttons. Okay, so now let's start from top to bottom. Let's start with the title. So let's go inside the title over here and start formatting it So we're gonna call it sales dashboards, and then let's have a pipeline, and then let's have the year, the current year that the user selects. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to insert, and let's add our parameter. So now let's go and change the font size. Let's select everything and make it, for example, 24. And now let's go and change the coloring. So let's go to the colors and pick our coloring, right? So let's go and pick the dark one. And for the year, let's have it as Tableau medium and pick the other color, the turquoise. Alright, so with that we have our title. Let's hit OK and check how it looks like. Yeah, I think it looks fine. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so that's all for those two containers. Now let's go and check the buttons. We have to make sure that those buttons has exactly the same sizing, which is really hard to configure. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and grab a mini horizontal container in order to put those two buttons inside it and distribute it evenly. So with that we're gonna get a perfect sizing. Let's go to the dashboards and let's get a horizontal container. Make sure to drop it to the right side. So with that we have a small container. Let's make it a little bit bigger to see it. I'm just gonna remove stuff, and now we're gonna go and move those buttons inside it. So let's drop it inside it, and as well pick the second one and put it to the right side. So now of course let's go quickly and check that everything is fine. So now let me close all those stuff. We are at the title, we have our title, and then we have the mini horizontal container, and inside it we have the two buttons. Alright, great. So now let's go and make everything distributed evenly. So let's go to the horizontal container. Let me just quickly give it a name. So you are the horizontal container for the buttons. Okay, perfect. And let's go and distribute this container evenly. So make sure to select the horizontal container, and let's go to the options and distribute content evenly. So now as you can see, those two buttons gonna get exactly the same size. So as I'm reducing or making it bigger, both of them gonna get exactly the same size. So let's just make it a little bit smaller. And now let's go and change the design of those buttons. So click on the first one. Let's edit the button. Okay, so now let's say the first button gonna be for the sales dashboards. So let's go and select it. It's gonna be the sales dashboards. And now let's go and give it a title or a name. It's gonna be sales dashboards. And now let's go and format the fonts. It's gonna be white, so everything is fine. Let's go to the background. Let's pick our colors. So let's go to more colors and pick our blue. Okay, so what else? Let's go again to the fonts and make it, instead of 12, let's make it like around 10. Alright, so that's it. Let's go and hit OK. Now with that we have configured the first button. Let's go to the second one. Let's go and edit the button. And now since we still don't have this customer dashboard, we cannot go and select it, but still I want to format it. So let's go to the fonts, make it 10, and this time I'm gonna make it black. And let's give it a title. It's gonna be the customer dashboard. And for the background, it's gonna be the white. And let's go and add a border for it. So it's gonna be the line, something like this maybe. And then gray. Okay, so now let's add a tooltip. It's gonna be go to customer dashboard. Okay, so let's check that. Okay, so as you can see, we got the second button. It's still gray because we haven't selected any dashboard. So once we have a dashboard, it's gonna be white. So now let's go and make it a little bit bigger. So select the container, just make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so that's it. We will visit it later once we have the customer dashboard. Alright, so that's all for now for the first container. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go and remove the background coloring of the container. So let's select the title. Let's remove the border and as well the background color. So let's have it as none. Alright, so now let's move to the next one. We have our KPIs. So the first thing that I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna make it a little bit bigger, maybe to the middle somewhere like this. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and add the background color. So as you can see, we have here a white color, but here we don't have any coloring for the title. So in order to do that, let's click on each one of them, and then we go to the background. Let's make it white, then to the next one, white, and the third one, it's gonna be as well white. Okay, so now we have like a big card or big KPI for all those informations for each one of them. Alright, so now the next step is that we're gonna go and remove the coloring of this container. So let's remove the border and remove as well the background. Alright, so now let's start with the first container over here. What I'm gonna do, I will just as well add a background color for those two charts. Gonna be the white. And now what we're gonna do in order to configure those stuff, we still have this container which is really bothering me. So let's go and select the whole container. Let's move it to the top over here, and then let's go to more options, and we're gonna select this one, add show hidden button. So let's click on that. So once you do that, you will get like small icon in order to show and hide the whole container. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna hide it. So click again on the options and hide it. So now the whole container is inside this icon. I will just place it over here in order to work on our charts. Alright, so now the next step that I would like to go in each chart and make sure that it fits the entire view. So let's go to the first one. You can check it from here. You can see it is entire view. The next one as well. Third one, and as you can see, it's standard. So let's go and switch it to entire view. And the same thing for the weekly trends. It is entire view. So with that, we make sure that Tableau is using the whole space, and we can make this one a little bit bigger. And as well as you can see, we still have a little bit space. So let's go to the middle over here and make the KPIs a little bit bigger in order to use the whole white space. Alright, so with that, we have a perfect positioning for each chart. I'm really happy with that. Alright, so now the next step is that we're gonna go and add some nice legends to our charts. So now for the first chart, we have to give the following information for the users. So the dark gray gonna be the current year, and the background color is the previous year. So now I'm gonna go and customize a nice legend. I will not use the one that's from Tableau because I want to customize it. So for that, we're gonna go and create quickly a chart for the legend. So let's create a new sheet, and all what we need is the text of the current year and the previous year. So we have it as calculated field. So let's move the current year to the text and as well the previous year to the text. So now let's go and customize those informations. Okay, so now we're gonna start on the left side. So let's make the alignment to the left. I'm gonna start with the first information, the current year. So we're gonna say the current year sales. Let's make the S bigger, and let's go and change the fonts to something like maybe a medium, and as well the coloring, it should follow the pattern in the chart. So the current year of sales, it was a dark one. So let's go and pick our dark color, and for the previous year it was the light color. So let's do that, and let's make the current year as bold. Okay, so let's go and test it. Let's go and apply. Now Tableau going to show it as hashes because the size is really small. So let's go and hit OK, and we can go to the standards and make it entire view. So now we can see it over here, 2023 sales versus 2022 sales. So now as you can see it, the current year versus the previous year. Okay, one thing that I'm not really happy about it, let's go inside it and remove the bold. Okay, and let's give it a name. So this is going to be the legend of subcategory charts. So that's it. Now let's go to the back to the dashboard in order to use it. Now I would like to have the legend between the title and the chart. We cannot do that. So instead of that, we're going to go and make an extra container for those three informations. So we have a title, a legend, and then the charts. So as I said again, we cannot plan everything at the start. As you are building the dashboard, you will understand the needs and you will adjust stuff. So now what we're going to do, instead of having this chart, we're going to have a vertical container inside the horizontal container. So now let's grab a vertical container, and the best thing to do it here in the middle. And what we're going to do, we're going to grab the chart and put it inside this container. So make sure to drop it inside this container. And of course, let's go quickly and check the layout, whether everything is fine. So it's inside the tilted, main, charts. So now, instead of the first chart, we have a vertical container. So let's go and give it a name quickly. So you are the container of, let's say, chart 1. And inside it, you can see we have our charts. So now our vertical container is going to start with a title. So let's go and grab a title or a text on top. And now we're going to give it the name sales and profit by subcategory. So now let's go and format it. You're going to be Tableau medium as a font, and then the size going to be 14, and the coloring going to be the dark one. So let's go and select that. Okay, so that's it. Hit OK. All right, so that means we don't need the title of our chart. Right click on it and hide the title. Great. So now finally we can go and grab the legends. But now in this chart, I would like to have as well a legend on the right side for the profit. So that means we have a legend on the left and legend on the right. And in order to do that, we're going to have another container in order to put those two legends side by side. We cannot do it currently because we have a vertical container. So let's go and grab a horizontal container and just put it in the middle over here. You just resize it. So make sure to select the container and let's put the first legend inside it. Okay, so now we have a title for this small legend. Let's go and hide it. Great, so now let's go and make everything smaller. Alright, so with that we have a really nice legend where we are telling the users we are comparing the sales of 2023 with 2022. Alright, so now let's go and configure the right legend. We have to tell the users this is profit informations, and the blue color indicate for profit, the orange gonna indicate for a loss. So for this legend, I'm just gonna use the text object. So let's drag the text and make sure to put it inside this mini container to the right side. So first, let's indicate the current year. Let's go to insert and have the parameter, because here we have the profit only for the current year. So next we're gonna say, okay, a circle, this is gonna be profits, and another circle, this is gonna be loss. Okay, so now let's go and make sure that the font is a Tableau medium. It's gonna be a 9, and let's go and make sure that the coloring that is used is the dark one. But now let's go and change the coloring of the circles. So the first one gonna be the blue, and the loss is orange. So our orange. Okay, so now let's go and hit OK and test it. Alright, so now as you can see, we have it really big. Let's go and make it smaller. Alright, so with this legend, the users can see immediately that we are talking about 2023. The blue one can be the profit, and the loss is going to be the orange. Alright, so now I'm really happy with the first chart. Of course, we still have the coloring of the background. Let's go to the layout and make sure that everything is correct of the containers. So let's go to the chart one. As you can see, we have a vertical container, we have a text, and then we have a horizontal container for both of the legends. So inside it, you can see we have the chart for the first legend and the text of the second. And then below that, we have our chart. So if you have it like this, you are following me correctly. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go and give a background color for the whole container for the first charts. So let's go to the background over here and make it as a white. So with that, the user is going to get the feeling that everything is in one unit, in one chart. Alright, so this is for the first chart. Let's go and do the same stuff for the right one. So in order to do that, let's go and grab a vertical container and let's grab it to the middle over here. So now with that, we have our container. Let's go and grab our chart and put it in the container, the new one that you have created. So now with that, we have our chart inside the new container. Let's go and check the layout to make sure that everything is fine. So let's go to the charts. We have chart 1 and the new one can be for the chart 2. Let's go and rename it. So you are the container for chart 2. Okay, and inside it we have our chart. So perfect. So that means we're gonna go and grab a text object and drop it on top of our chart inside the new container. So let's call it sales and profits trends over time. Now we're gonna go and start formatting it. So let's go and grab the Tableau medium, and as well it's gonna be 14. Let's go and pick our color. It's gonna be the dark one. So with that, we're gonna get exactly the same title as the left one. Okay, so the next step, let's go and hide the old title from the charts. And next we're gonna go and put our legend. So it's gonna be a text object. Let's put it in the middle between the title and the charts. So now what we're gonna say in the legends, let's enter a parameter in order to show the year. And after that, we're gonna have a circle and we're gonna say this is the above, and another one is gonna be below. So now with that, we're going to indicate whether the line is above the average or the below the average. And we are using the coloring. So the above is going to be the blue one. Let's go and choose that. And below is going to be the orange. Our orange color. Now what we can do, we're going to make sure that we are following the same font. So it's going to be the Tableau medium. And it is a 9. Alright, so that's all. Let's go and hit OK. I think we missed out the coloring of the 2023. Let's go inside it and make sure to choose the dark color for it. Alright, let's hit OK. So now we got a quick explanation about the coloring inside our chart on the right side. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go and select the whole container and we're going to change the background color to white in order to have this one unit feeling in the chart. So let's go to layout and let's go to the background and choose the white color. Alright, so with that we are done with the container of charts, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and select the whole container and remove the border and as well the background color. Okay, so now by looking to our charts inside our dashboards, we still are missing some information about the KPIs. We have to present here a legend explaining those 2 points and as well the coloring of those 2 lines. So we will have something very similar to this legend where we're gonna say 2023 versus 2022 in order to explain those 2 lines, and then we're going to explain those 2 circles. So in order to create the legends, what we're going to do, we're going to go to the legend of subcategory and let's go and duplicate it and let's give it a name. You're going to be the legend of KPI. Let's just move the dashboard to the end in order to have all the sheets on the left side, and let's go to the legend of KPI and start formatting it. So now since we have different KPIs, not only the sales, I'm going to go and remove the sales words in our text. So let's go to the text, to the 3 points, and then let's go and remove the sales and let's have only the years. And then let's go and add our circle and we're going to say highest month and another circle for the lowest month. Now, as usual, we're going to go and start formatting those informations. It's going to be Tableau medium and 9, so everything is fine. Let's go and change the color of those circles. So the high is going to be the blue and the low is going to be the orange. So let's go and hit OK and check the results. Looks nice, right? But I think here I have an extra space. So let's go to the text again and let's have only one space. All right, let's go and hit OK. And now let's go and use it inside our dashboards. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the dashboard over here. Let's grab the KPI, the legend KPI, and let's drop it just below the title. So we're gonna have it between two horizontal containers. So let's drop it first. And the next step, we're gonna go and remove the title. So let's go and hide it. So now it's really small between those two containers. What I'm gonna do in order to select it, let's go to the item hierarchy. And now we can check and see we have the container for the title, the container for the KPIs, and in the middle, we have our charts. All right, so now maybe let's go and make the title just a little bit smaller, like this. And let's go to the legend KPI and like drag it a little bit below. All right, so now it looks fine. And we have an explanation for the 3 KPIs. All right, so with that, we have everything ready inside our main container. What is missing, of course, is the hidden container where we have the filters. But I will leave that until the end. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the main container. Let's select it and remove the border and as well the background. So let's have none. All right, so now the final touch, the last step of formatting these dashboards, we're gonna go and add spaces in this dashboard between the charts. Adding spaces between the charts gonna have a huge effect on the user experience for your dashboards. And as you can see, those two charts are really near to each other, like they are not able to breathe, right? So adding space between those two charts will not only add a balance between the items, but also it's gonna make it easier to read for the users. So now let's go and start adding those stuff. The first thing that we're gonna do is that we're gonna change the background color of the whole dashboard. So in order to do that, let's go to the main menu over here to the dashboard. And then let's go to the format option, and here the default gonna be white. Let's go and move it to the lightest gray. So let's select that. So now with that, we are separating the charts from the background, and we can see immediately the spacing between the charts. So now if you look to the 3 KPIs, you can see we have a minimum space between them, but between those two charts, there is no space at all. So now let's go and fix the spacing from top to bottom. First, I would like to have the background color of this legend to be a gray. So in order to do that, let's go to the sheet. So I'm just gonna switch to the sheet, and then let's go to the format. But if you don't have it open, just right click on that white space, go to format, and let's go to shading. So now we can go and color the background of the worksheet. So let's go and say none. All right, so now let's go back to our dashboard, and as you can see, for the legend over here, we don't have a coloring. We need a background color of white only for the charts. All right, so now let's start working on those 3 KPIs in order to increase the spaces between them. So in order to do that, let's go and select the first one. Let's close the format and let's stay at the layout. So now here, if you go to those two options, we have the outer padding and the inner padding. The outer is the space between the objects, and the inner is the space inside the chart itself. So now what do we need? We need to increase the spacing between those 3 KPIs and as well the spacing between the KPI and the chart. Alright, so now let's go and start with the outer padding. Let's click on it. And now here, as you are increasing the numbers, as you can see, the padding, the spaces between this chart and the neighbor charts gonna be increased. And as you can see, it's gonna increase for top, right, bottom, left. So as you can see, everything is connected together. If you change something here, it's gonna change for all values, and that's because all sides should be equal. And here, it's very important to understand that you have to make a decision about the spacing between your charts, and you have to commit to your decision for the whole dashboard. This is really important, otherwise the dashboard gonna be ugly. So now we're gonna go with the value 20 for all the charts inside these dashboards. So now let me show you how we can do that. Let's go and make everything to 10. And now what we are doing, this chart is taking a 10 on the left, right, top, bottom, and our goal is to have a 20. So if this chart on the right side is taking a 10 and the neighbor KPI is taking from the left side as well 10, then we will have a 20. So that means in order to have a 20 between all our charts, each one of them should has a 10. But now I care only for the spaces between the charts and not the legend over here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the outer padding over here, and then let's remove all sides are equal, and from the top I really don't care, so let's make it as a 0. So now our chart is not taking any spaces to the top, we are taking only space to the right, bottom, and left. So now let's go and do exactly the same for each KPI. So let's go to the profits, go to the padding, we have to have it here as a 10. And now let's go and disable all sides equals, and we don't need any spaces to the top. Alright, so let's move to the next one, the same stuff, make it 10, and let's remove the top. So now we can see clearly there is a space between all those three KPIs, and this space is equal to 20. So now let's go and add spaces to the two charts over here. So make sure to select the whole container. And now the same thing, we're going to go to the padding over here. And now we're going to make it a 10. This time we care about the top to be 10 in order to have a 20 between this chart and the KPI above. Alright, so that's all for this chart. Let's go to the next one and do the same. So make sure to select the whole container and let's move it to 10. Alright, perfect. Let's go and deselect. So as you can see, the whole look and feeling of our dashboard look more professional and easier to read. And this is exactly why we add spacing between our charts. Okay guys, now not only the spacing between the chart is important, but as well the inner spacing, the inner padding is important between the content and the border of the content. And as well adding spacing inside the container or the contents gonna make things look more better. So for example, let's go to this KPI over here. You can see the total of sales is very close to the border, right? So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the inner padding, and now let's go and increase the size a little bit and see how things looks like. Let's make it maybe 7. So now as you can see, as I'm increasing those numbers, the content are getting pressed and move away from the border. So if you increase it, for example, like to 20, and as you can see now, we have a lot of spaces between the title and the border of the content. So now let's go and move it to 7, and we will go and do the same for all other KPIs. So let's go to the right one, and we're gonna make it 7, and to the third one, let's go and make it 7. So as you can see, moving the content away from the border a little bit, gonna make everything breathe better. Let's go and do the same for all other charts. So I'm gonna go over here to the whole container. Let's add a 7 as well over here and add a 7. Alright, so that's all. With that, we are done formatting our dashboard. The next step is that we're gonna go and start working on the filters and the interactivity. And now let's check quickly what was the requirements. We have to allow the users to filter the data by the product informations like category and subcategory, and as well by the location informations like the region, states and city. And we have another requirement about interactivity and filtering. It says we have to allow the users to use the chart and the visuals as a filter. Alright, so now let's go and add the requested filters. We didn't add any filters inside our worksheet, so let's go to any of those worksheets, for example the KPI sales, and let's start adding the filters. So the first one was about the product informations. So let's go and get the category, show filter. Then let's go to the location information. Let's add the country. Alright, so those are the filters that are requested from the users. The next step is that we're going to go and apply them for all worksheets. So since all those filters are relevant for all our charts. So let's go to the first one, right click on it and apply to worksheets. And then let's say all using this data source. So let's go and select that, and as you can see now we get a small icon indicate that all worksheets using this data source can have this filter, the category. Let's go and do the same for all our filters. So using data source, state as well, and the city. So now we can go and test that. If you go to any other sheets, we should see all those filters. So as you can see, all our worksheets has those 5 filters. Alright, so now the next step, we're gonna go back to our dashboard and start adding those filters. So let's go to the sales dashboard, and you know that for the filters, we have an extra container for that. It is currently hidden. So as you can see, the first container here, the vertical container, and it is hidden because we are using a button. So let's go and show it. In order to do that, we're gonna go to this small icon and then right click on it, and then let's say show. So once we do that, we will get our mini container for the filters. So now let's go and start building this filter container. So I'm just gonna move it to the right side over here, make it to the whole side, and then a little bit wider. Alright, so now as you can see, we have got a lot of information that we don't need. We got it automatically from the charts. We have our own legends. So let's go and start removing those stuff. We don't need anything. But I'm just gonna leave the parameter. So let's just leave the select here. And now we have to go and start adding the filters. So since our filters are everywhere in each chart, doesn't matter which one you can select. Let's go with the first one over here. Let's go to the arrow, and then here we have the option of filters. And let's make sure that we are selecting the filters that we need. So let's start with the category, and let's go add the second one. It's gonna be the subcategory. So it's over here. And then let's have the location informations. It's going to start with the region. And then the next one, let's go to filters. We're going to have the state. And the last one going to be the city. So filters. And with the city, we have it over here. So as you can see, as we are adding filters in our dashboards, it's going to be automatically added to this container. All right, so now the next step is that we're going to go and start changing the structure of those filters. And we will have a drop-down menu using multiple values. So let's go to the category over here. Let's go to this arrow and make sure to select multiple values drop down. So we're going to do it for all those filters, to the region as well, state, and the city. So this is how I usually go with the filters in order to have more space, but you have to discuss it with the users. Maybe some users can say, okay, one of those filters are really important and they want it as a list. So of course, if it has low cardinality, then it's no problem. All right, so that's all the required filters for this dashboard. Let's go to the next step where we're going to start formatting, coloring, and as well cleaning up this container. Okay, so now the first step is that we're going to go and change the color of the background. So select the container, let's go to the layout. And we don't need any borders, but we want to change the background color. So let's go and select our color, but this time we're going to go and make it really dark. So let's make it darker. Okay, like this. Let's go and hit OK. Alright, so now the next step is that we're going to go and start grouping up those filters into groups. So the first two, the category and subcategories, those are informations about the product, and the region, state, city, they are about the location. So let's go and give this information to the users. So what I'm going to do, let's go to the dashboard, grab a text, and let's just put it before the category. So the first one is going to be about the product. So let's write the following: product. And then after that, 2 minuses. Let's go and make everything bigger. So let's check the 11. Let's have it in the middle. And let's go and change the font to something like light. And as well, let's go to the coloring and pick our color. But let's make it a little bit lighter. Something like this maybe. All right, let's go and hit OK. All right, so now one more thing what we can do, we can add spaces between each character just in order to make it like a title. So let's add just spaces. Okay, so let's go with that. Let's hit OK. So with that, we got like a group name for the next two filters. Let's go and do the same for the location. So we're going to go and grab a text, the region over here, and we're going to do the same. So location. We will do exactly the same formats to the middle, and as well, let's pick the Tableau light. And now let's go and add the spaces between the characters. All right, and let's do the coloring. If you go to the color over here, you will get from the history the last used color. So with that, we get exactly the same coloring for the product. So that's all. Let's go and hit OK. Nice. So with that, we have grouped up our filters, but let's go and add more spacing between those two groups. So what we're going to do, we're going to go and grab a blank, and let's just do it before the location. All right. So now with this blank, you can decide on the size of the space between those two groups. So let's go with something like this. And let's have as well a blank between the year and the product. So let's grab a blank over here. And let's just put it here so that we have like an extra space between them. And you can control the height of those two blanks by going to the layout over here. If you select it, you can see the height. So as you can see, both of those are almost identical. So everything is fine. So now we're going to go and add a title on the top. Says those are filters. So what we're going to do, we're going to go and grab a text from the dashboard over here. Let's just put it at the top and let's call it filters. As well, you're gonna be light. Let's make it bold, and let's make this title as 14. And we can go over here and add spaces between those letters, and we can make this one as a white. All right, let's make it as well to the middle. Let's go and hit OK. And as well, we can go and control the spacing by adding a blank on top of it. So let's go and add blank at the start. So with that, we control the space between the border and this title. So that's it. I'm really happy how it looks like. Let's go to the next step where we're going to go and start positioning this container. But now in order to place it in the correct place, I need to understand the border of the main container. So let's go back to the layout and select the main container again. I'm just going to add a border to it in order to see it. So with that, we can see this is the border of our dashboards, and let's go and position this container exactly on the borders. Okay, so now how we're going to do that? Let's go to the positions over here and make the Y to 0. So let's change it to 0. And now with that, we start exactly on the top, but for the bottom and the right, we have to do it manually. So let's start moving stuff exactly on top of the borders. All right, perfect. So we have it exactly on the place where we need it. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to go and make it a little bit smaller. And now the next step, we're going to go and start adding spaces inside the container itself, just to make it look professional and not everything on the edges. So let's go and give it some spacing. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna click on the whole container again, and let's go and add some inner padding. So let's go over here, and I would say let's just move it and see how things looks like. Maybe let's go with the 10. So now, as you can see, those boxes does not start immediately on the border, and it's going to be easier for the users to select. Alright, so now we are done cleaning, formatting our container for the filters. We can go and start testing, right? So let's go for the year and change this year to 2022. As you can see, all numbers did change, which is perfect. Let's move it back to 2023. Let's go and pick another category. So let's have only the furniture, and as you can see, the dashboard is reacting, which is really great. And now, of course, we can go and remove the all over here because it's not really needed. We have really low cardinality in this filter. So let's go over here, and then let's go to customize and remove the show all values. Okay, so now if you go again here, you will not find the all. For the low cardinality dimensions like this, we don't need it. For high cardinality dimensions, like for example the subcategory, here it really makes sense to select everything. So that's why I'm gonna go and leave it over here. Let's go to the next one, to the region. We have here only 4 values. Let's go and remove the all, and as well we can start testing. So as you can see, everything is working. Alright, so that's all about the requirement of having filters for the users, for the product and the locations, and we are done. Let's go now and hide this container. Don't worry about the icon, we're gonna change that in the last step of the dashboard, in the final touch. So let's go over here and hide it so that the whole container did disappear. Let's talk about the second requirement. So the requirement says to have interactive charts. That means if you click on somewhere on the charts, it's gonna be used as a filter for the other charts. So for example, if I go and click over here in this subcategory, it should go and filter the other charts. So in order to do that, it's really easy. Just click on the charts and select this small icon over here as use as filter. So once you select that, it's gonna be filled, and if you go and click around, you can see the other charts can be filtered. So we are now adding dynamic and interactivity to our dashboards. Let's go and do the same for the other charts. So let's fill it and use it as a filter. I think for the KPIs, it doesn't make sense to use it as a filter. So make sure to discuss that with the users, whether they want their KPIs to be used as a filter. So for now, I'm just gonna leave it as it is, and we can go and use those 2 charts in order to filter the data. So for example, if I go over here and select all those data points, you can see the data is filtered in the other charts. Alright, so as you can see, it's really easy, and with that we have fulfilled this requirement, and with that we have added the filters and the interactivity aspect to our dashboard. Alright, so now finally we are at the last step of the dashboards, where we can have the final touch by adding, for example, icons. And if you downloaded the project, and I hope you have downloaded from the description link, what you're gonna do, we're gonna go to the project over here, and you can see we have a folder inside the project called icons. So let's go inside, and with that we have around 5 icons that we can add to our dashboard. So let's go and add them. Okay, so now first we're gonna start with the icon of the filter. So click on that, and let's go to more options, and let's go and edit the button. And here in this window we can configure 2 options: when the item is shown and when the item is hidden. So now let's start with the first one, as the item is hidden. That means the whole container is hidden as the current situation. So let's go and choose an image for that, or an icon. Let's go to our project, and we will use this icon in order to indicate for the users. If you click here, you will find filters. So let's go and select that. Alright, so that's all for now. Now we're gonna go to the opposite scenario, where we can see the container and we want to minimize it or close it. So here we have another icon. Let's go and choose the image of closing, this one. Okay, so that's all for now. Let's go and hit OK. And with that, you can see now our icons. Let's just make it bigger in order to see it. And let's go in the presentation modus in order to understand how this gonna work. So let's go and present. And as you can see, we have a big icon here. If we click on that, our container gonna appear, and then it's gonna switch immediately to the second icon. And if you click in the second icon, the container gonna disappear. Alright, so this is how it works. Let's hit escape and go back to our developer modus. So now let's go back to the button and edit it. And here we have to give the users a tooltip if they mouse hover. So let's go and say something like show dashboard filters if the container is hidden, in order to show the container. And let's switch to the other one, and let's say close dashboard filters. So let's go and hit OK, and if you mouse over on the filter, you will see this small tooltip. Alright, so that's all for now. Let's just move it to the right side, and we will configure all those stuff later once we add the logo to our dashboard. So now I would like to place the logo just before the title. In order to do that, let's go to the dashboard, and here we have an object called image. So drag and drop it just before the title over here inside the container. And now we have to go and choose the image. So our logo gonna be this one. Let's go and hit OK, and then let's go and choose those two options to fit just in the center. So that's it. Let's go and hit OK, and with that, as you can see, we have a nice logo at the start, but let's go and just make it bigger. So I'm just gonna go and select the whole container, just make more space for it, and maybe just move the title a little bit to the left side, squeeze it. Alright, so it looks nice, right? Alright, so now before we continue, let's go and check the layout, whether everything is fine. Just gonna make it a little bit bigger over here. So here we have the title container, and inside it we have the logo, the title, and then we have the buttons over here. So far everything looks good, but one thing that I have noticed that the legend here is a little bit shifted to the left. It does not align with the KPIs. So I'm going to show you now a trick in order to test that. If you go and change it to floating, and let's get a blank. And let's go and format this blank to have, for example, a border, and then let's have any background color for that. Alright, so now we're going to go and use this in order to test that everything aligned. So what we're going to do, we're going to just move it over here, exactly on the border, and as you can see, the 2 is outside. So that means we have to go and adjust the padding of our legend. So select that, and now let's go to the outer padding, and let's remove all sides are equal and start working on the left one. So let's go and start increasing. So with that, the 2 is inside and everything should be fine. So if I go and deselect, remove my test from here, and as you can see, everything looks really clean. Alright, so this is how I usually test stuff if I'm not sure on the visual. So let's go and remove it. Now great, we have the logo, we have the icon for the filters. So we would like to have the sales dashboard and the customer dashboard as an icons. We don't want them as a buttons. So in order to change that, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the buttons over here. Let's go and edit it. And now instead of having a text, we're gonna have an image. So let's go and choose another image, and this can be for the sales. So let's select that, and we have the tooltip from before. Let's go to the customers and do the same. And we have for the customers another icon. It is this one. Let's go and hit OK, and we have a tooltip, so everything is fine. Let's go and hit OK. So now as you can see, we have now 3 icons, one for the sales, one for the customers, and one for the filters. Alright, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and add all those icons in one container. Alright, so now currently we have one floating icon and 2 others inside container. So let's go and change this one from floating to tilde. In order to do that, let's go to the options, and let's remove floating from here. So now it is somewhere inside our dashboard. Let's go and place it next to the others. So make sure inside the container. Alright, so with that we have everything in one container. The next step is that I'm gonna go and change this container to a floating container because I wanted to place it freely where I want. So in order to do that, make sure to select this small container over here. Let's go to more options and change it to floating. And next I'm just gonna move it exactly to the border to make sure that we have it in the correct place. So now we have the border exactly on the filter. I think it looks really nice. Let's move it a little bit up. Okay. Alright, so now everything looks really perfect. The icon over here is grayed out because we haven't select what can happen if the users click on this icon because we still don't have the customer dashboard. Don't worry about it, we're gonna have it later. Alright, so now the last touch, we're gonna go and remove the whole border of this container. So let's go and remove it. Alright, so now we are almost there. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna go and test the container inside the filter to see everything is working. So let's go and show the filter, and now let's go and adjust few stuff about this container. So double click on the container, make sure everything is inside. And now in order to control the spacing, we have added before a blank at the start, remember? So if you go to the blank inside this container, the first one, we can go and push the content down, maybe something like this. And with that, this container is as well clean. Let's go and hide it. And I think we are done. So let's go and test the final result by going to the presentation modus. Let's go and test this container again. And I think everything is placed perfectly and really we have a nice dashboard. Alright, so guys, we are done with the sales dashboard from the requirement until a very professional dashboard. So now next we're gonna go and do all those stuff again for the customer dashboard. So now here is your task to pause pause the video or come back later to the course in order to work on the customer dashboard, and once you are done, we can continue in the course in order to show you how I did prepare it. So now go through all the steps, starting by analyzing the requirements and ending up by having a customer dashboard. So now since we have those two dashboards in one project, I'm gonna say let's go and copy a lot of stuff from the sales dashboard and reuse it in the customer dashboard. So see you soon. Alright, so now I hope you are done building the customer dashboard. Now I'm going to show you my version, how I did implement it. So now let's have a quick overview on the requirements. Let's start with the key requirements. We have here the same stuff. It says that we have to show KPIs, where the KPI should display the total number of customers, sales per customers, and as well the total number of orders for the current year and the previous year. And the next requirement is about the trend. We have to present the data on a monthly basis, where we have to compare the current and previous years, and as well we have to identify or to highlight the highest and lowest values. So those two requirements are exactly like the sales requirements, but with different measures. So for the chart type here, we're gonna go exactly like the sales dashboards, where we're gonna have bands and as well spark lines with small circles. Alright, moving on to the third requirement, we have the customer distribution by number of orders. So here we have to present the distribution of customers based on the number of orders. So here we are talking about data distribution, and for that we have a perfect chart. We have the histogram. Okay, so now for the last requirement, we have to show the top 10 customers by profit. So here we have to show the top 10 customers with the highest profit, and as well they need a lot of informations like the rank, number of orders, current sales, current profit, and the last order date. So here in this requirement, we have to present a lot of details about the 10 customers, and for this I have decided to go with a symbol table where we're gonna have rows and columns. Alright, so this is about analyzing the requirements and deciding on the chart type. For the next step, we're going to talk about the mockup and the coloring. We're going to use exactly the same stuff like in the sales dashboard, and that's because the two dashboards are in the same project and it makes no sense to create each time for a new dashboard a new mockup. So here we have to follow one mockup for all our dashboards in order to have the same look and feeling of our dashboards inside this project. So as you can see, things goes easier for the next dashboards. Now we can go and start implementing the charts in Tableau. Alright, so now for the first charts, we have the three KPIs: customers, sales per customers, and orders. They are the usual stuff like before. It's just copy and paste and switching the measures. And of course, if you are interested in how I implement it, I'm gonna leave the file as well in the project, or you can go to my public profile and download it from there. Maybe one interesting thing to show you how did I calculate the sales per customers. So let's go over here, and since now we have a lot of fields, we can go and search for customer in order to check the calculated fields. So first we have to decide which customers did order for the current year and which one did order for the previous year. So it's really simple. If we go over here to the current year customers and let's go and edit, you can see over here we have the same condition. If the year is equal to selected year from the parameter, then show the customer ID, otherwise it's null. With the previous year, we're gonna have exactly the same but subtracting 1 year. So this is the first step. Then the next step, we're gonna go and calculate the current year sales per customer. So we have it over here. Let's go and check inside it. So for that, we have the following calculation. We're going to divide the current year for the sales by the count of the distance value of the customers. And with that, you're going to get the average sales per customer. So we will do the same stuff as well for the previous year. And the rest is going to be as usual. So finding the differences and finding the min-max values. So that's it for the sales per customers. Now let's go and start implementing the first chart using the histogram in order to show the data distributions for the customers. So let's go and create a new sheet and we're gonna call it customer distribution. Alright, so now since we are talking about two measures, the count of customers and the count of orders, we have to go and use the LOD expressions in order to generate the pins. And I explained that in details in the LOD expressions using the fixed. So make sure to check that in order to understand the LOD expression that we're going to use now. And for that, we're going to go and convert the number of orders into pins using calculated field. So in order to do that, let's go and create, let me just remove the search. Create a new calculated field. So here we want to find for each customers how many orders they placed. And of course we are talking for the current year. So for that we're going to go and use the function fixed from the LOD expressions. And then we have to define the dimension. It's going to be the current year for the customers. So here we have all the customers that did order in the current year. Then after that we have to do the aggregation and it's going to be the number of orders. So we're going to go and count distinct. as well the current year for the orders. The current year for the orders is like the customers, all the orders that are placed in this year. Alright, so that's all. Let's go and close the fixed over here. Alright, so again what we are doing over here, for each customers we are going to find the number of orders that they are placed for the current year. Alright, so now let's go and hit OK. And now we have it over here as continuous measure. Let's go and change it to dimension. So right click on it and make it a dimension, because pins in the histograms are usually discrete values. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and test the values. Let's drag and drop it to the view. Okay, so with that we got our pin for the histogram, but I would like to go and test those data. So in order to do that, let's go and create a new sheet. Let's call it test histogram. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and check our customers. So let's pick the customer name, and now as well let's go and grab the ordered ID over here. Let's show all the values, and as well we need the date. So let's go and pick the order date. It is over here in order to see the year. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and check our new calculated field. Let's drop it over here, and then let's go and switch it to a measure and sum. Alright, I will go and drop it on the labels. Alright, so now let's go and check one of those customers. Let's focus on Adam Hart. Right click on it and let's say keep only. So now we can go and check all orders of Adam, and as you can see we have a lot of orders in the history, and none of them gonna be counted inside our calculated field because we are focusing only on the current year. So as you can see we start counting from 2023, and in 2023 we have 5 orders. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So as you can see the measure is returning a correct value. We can go and test the other years. For example, let's go and show the parameter, and let's go and switch it to 2022. So with that, as you can see in the 2022 we have only 3 orders. Let's go and switch it to 2021, and we have here only 1 order. So that means our calculated field is working as intended, and we can use it now for the histogram. So this is what I usually do once I create a new calculated field, especially if it is LOD. I go and test it. So I go and create a simple table in order to see the data and focus, for example, on this one customer, instead of testing directly in the histogram, because it's really hard in the visuals to test the data. Alright, so now let's go back to our customer distribution and let's get our bars. In order to do that, we're gonna go over here to the rows. Let's say count distinct, and now we're gonna go and count the customers for the current year. So the current year customers, let's go. And now we have to go and change the visual to bars, since histograms are bars, and with that we got our histogram. So that's it. Now next we're gonna go and start formatting our histogram. So the first thing, as usual, we're gonna go and remove the lines. So let's go and format. Let's go to lines. Let's go to rows and remove the grid. Alright, so that's all for the lines. Next, we're going to go over here and remove the headers. And let's make those pins and make it more readable. So let's go and format it. Maybe I'm going to make it bold and change the color. Alright, so now we have the name of the dimension over here. We can go and hide it. Okay, so now let's go and start with the coloring. Let's hold Control and drag the customer to the colors. And of course, we're going to go and use our coloring. So let's go and edit it. And let's pick the blue one. Alright, so that's it. Let's hit OK. Okay, next we can go and add some borders to those bars. So let's go to the colors, to the borders, and make it something like this. Alright, so now the next step, I'm going to go and add some labels. So let's get the customers to the labels. And I think with that, we are done with the histogram. We can go and test it by adding the parameter. Let's select another year like 2023. And as you can see, everything is reacting. And that's it for this requirement. Now we are showing for the users the distribution of customers by the number of orders. Let's go now for the next requirement, where we're going to show the top 10 customers by the profit. Alright, so now let's go and create a new worksheet. Let's call it top customers. So now we need our customers to the rows, and now we're going to show only the top 10 customers by the profit for the current year. So let's go and get our measure. It is the current year for the profit. Let's drop it on the text over here. And now next we're going to go and make the filter in order to show only the top 10 customers. So hold Control, drag and drop the customer name to the filters. And now here we're going to go to the tab of top, and then let's switch it to by field. So we have top 10 by the profits, and the aggregation going to be the sum. So this is exactly what do we need. Let's go and hit OK. And with that, we're going to get a very simple list of the top 10 customers by the profit. Let's go and change the format in order to see the whole number. So let's go and format it, where I'm going to go and remove the unit. So remove decimals, and let's have the $sign at the start. Alright, so now we can see the whole number. Let's go and sort the list by the profit. So in order to do that, go to the customer name, and then let's go to sort. and we're gonna go to fields, and in order to have a ranking, we're gonna switch it to sort order by descending and make sure that we have the field name current year of profit. All right, so that's all. Let's close it, and as you can see, the first customer on top, it's gonna be the top customer. And now the next step is that we're gonna go and add the rank to this list. So in order to do that, we're gonna use the function index. So let's go to the rows over here and just write index, and that's it. And then let's go and switch it to discrete and just put it at the front. And with that, we have a ranking from 1 to 10. All right, so now we're gonna go and add additional informations for each customers, like the sales for the current year. So let's go to our data pane and let's grab the current year for sales, drag and drop it on top of those numbers. So with that, we can see as well the sales for the current year. Let's just make it a little bit bigger. And now the next information that we're going to go and add is the number of orders for the current year that is placed from the customers. So in order to do that, let's go to the measure value over here and double click on the empty space and write down count distinct in order to count the orders. So we're going to go and type current year of the orders. All right, so let's hit OK. And now we're going to see the number of orders that each customers did place in the current year. All right, so now the next information that we're going to add is the last order date did the customer place. And now we need the last order date. In order to do that, right click on it and let's go to the measures and get the maximum. So with that, we can see now when was it the last time did our top customer order from our business. All right, so with that, we got all the informations that we need inside our chart. The next step is that we're going to go and start formatting it. So first, we're going to start with the lines and the grids as usual. So right click on it and go to format. So now I would like to get rid of this line in the middle between the measures and the dimensions. So let's go to the grid and let's go as well to the column divider and remove it. So with that, we don't have the line in between. And now the next step is that we're going to go and get rid of the gray background color. So let's go to the shading, and then here we're going to go to the row banding and reduce the size to the minimum. So with that, as you can see, the background color did disappear. All right, so that's all for the lines and the grid. Let's go and start formatting the fonts and the colors of our fonts. So first, I would like to format the index over here. So let's go to it, format. So let's go and make sure that we are selecting the correct field. So yeah, we are selecting it. Let's go to pan. And now let's go to the numbers over here, and I would like to add a prefix. So let's remove the decimals by the number custom and add the prefix of hash in order to have like a ranking. So that's it. And what else we can add to this ranking is that we can go and add the background color for it. So go to the shading over here and make it very light gray. All right, so that's all for the ranking. Let's go to the next one and start changing the font color. So format it and let's go to the font. So we can leave it as a Tableau book and we can go and change the color to something like black. So that's it. Let's go to the next one, format. And we're gonna go over here, make it black. All right, so now moving on to the measures, let's go and remove the unit from the sales. So let's go to the sales over here, format, and then we're gonna go and format it as usual to the number custom, remove the decimal and add a $sign. All right, and for the number of orders, we're going to leave it as it is. All right, so that's it. Let's just keep it very simple. And with that, we have a really nice detailed table to show the top 10 customers with additional informations. All right, so with that, we are done building all the charts. The next step, we're going to go and start building the dashboard. Okay, so now in order to create the customer dashboard, we will not create everything from the scratch. We're going to go and duplicate the sales dashboard in order to have the structure. So let's go to the sales dashboard, right click on it and duplicate. So with us, we got two identical dashboards. Let's go to the second one and start formatting it. First, we're going to start with the naming. So it's going to be the customer dashboard. And now let's start from top to bottom. We're going to start with that title. So let's go over here, change it from sales dashboard to customer dashboards. So now as you can see, creating the second dashboard can be very easy once you have a really solid structure. Alright, so now next what do we have? We have the three charts. We're going to go and replace them all with the new ones. So the first one is going to be the KPI customer. Let's just drop it here at the start. And of course, Tableau is going to go and start adding stuff to our new container. Don't worry about it. We're going to go and delete it later. So let's go and get the next KPI, sales per customers, and the orders. Okay, all right, and now let's go and hide this container. So right click on the icon and let's go and hide it. All right, so now we can go and drop those old KPIs from this dashboard. So let's just remove them. And with that, we got our three KPIs. Let's keep moving and add our charts. It's going to be the histogram. So let's drag and drop it below the legend over here. And we can go and remove the old stuff. So the old chart, and as well, we don't need the legends. So let's go and drop the whole container for both of the legends. And let's go and change the title to customer distribution by number of orders. Okay, So let's hit OK and let's remove the title from the chart. Okay, so as you can see, this container keep popping up because we have a new legends and new stuff. So let's go and hide it again. And let's work on the right charts. It's gonna be the detail list for the top customers. So let's drop it over here and we're gonna go and remove the old one. And now we're gonna move on to check that everything fits the entire view. So let's go check one by one, entire view, this one as well. Everything looks fine. Let's check the last table. Okay, so it's standard. Let's go and switch it to entire view to use the whole space. All right, so now we put everything together in one dashboard. The next step is that we're going to go and start formatting this dashboard. And it will not be that bad because we have almost everything. So let's start with the first chart. Let's make everything with a white background. So let's go to layout and change it to white as well for the next KPI, just to make sure that we have done for everyone. Alright, so with that we got like a card for the whole KPI. The next step I would say let's go immediately and start working with the spacing between those charts. So let's click on the first one. If you remember in the sales dashboards, we have agreed to have a 20 between each charts. So let's go to the outer padding and make everything as a 10, but only on the top. We don't need this extra space. So let's disable all sides equal and make it 0, only for the top. And as well we said the inner padding gonna be always 7. So let's have it like this and do it for the others. So outer is 10, on top is 0, and the inner padding gonna be 7. And as well for the last one. So you are 10, remove it for the top, and the inner gonna be as well a 7. So let's do it like this. Alright, so with that we are done formatting the 3 KPIs. Let's move on to the charts. So now let's go and select the whole container, and as you can see we have everything done as before. So the outer padding is 10 and the inner padding is 7. Great, let's go and check the right one. I think we're gonna have it as well correct. So as you can see, things get really fast as you are building the second dashboard using a solid structure. Alright, so now we're gonna do one more thing about the top 10 customers by profit. As you can see, those header informations or the field name is not really nice. So now we're gonna go and remove those informations and we're gonna build our own custom field names. So let me show you how we're gonna do that. Let's go to dashboard and let's grab a horizontal container on top of our table. And here we're gonna go and put inside this container the field names. So let's just make it a little bit smaller and let's start adding texts. So this is the first text. So the first information gonna be the rank. So let's have a rank. Let's change the font to a medium and let's change the size to 10 and make it a little bit lighter for the colors. Alright, so let's go with this. Let's hit OK and let's go and add another one for the next field. So make sure to be on the right side, customers. And we're gonna do the same stuff. You're gonna be medium, a 10, and this color. We can go and copy it for the next one. So let's go and hit OK. And now let's go and keep adding our fields. So the next one gonna be the last order date. So let's paste the old one and we're gonna call it last order. So that's it. Let's hit OK. And then we have the current profit. So let's grab a text. And instead of the current profit, I'm gonna go and add the parameter and then the word profit. Let's go and make sure that everything has the same format. So you're gonna be Tableau medium, 10, and the same coloring. Let's copy it for the next one. So we're gonna add another text for the sales, paste it, let's have a sales, and the last one gonna be the number of orders. So let's write it like this, paste it, remove the year, we don't need it here. So with that, as you can see, we got our titles. What we're gonna do, we're gonna go and remove the titles from the original table. So let's hide the field labels and as well let's hide the header. Alright, so next we're gonna start working on the alignment between the titles and the detail list. So we're gonna start moving stuff around. First I'm gonna go and make it a little bit bigger, and then we're gonna start moving those boxes on top of their informations until everything matches. So the last order a little bit to the right side, maybe make this field a little bit smaller, and then let's go and push the sales a little bit to the right side and as well the profits. And now we're gonna go and push this as well a little bit to the right side. As you can see, we don't have any more spaces for the order. Let's go and just call it orders. Alright, and we're gonna go and move it again a little bit to the top. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Everything is perfect. And now we have formatted all the charts that we have inside the customer dashboard. Next, we're gonna go and start cleaning up the filter information. So let's go and show the filter what is happening here. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and remove all additional informations that Tableau did add to our new container. We don't need all those informations. So let's go and remove them one by one, and with that we got exactly like before the same container. And of course you can go and start testing your dashboard again. So we can go and switch it, for example, to 2022 And as you can see, everything did change. Even we have a new top 10 customers. We can go and add, for example, different subcategories, and everything is reacting. So everything is perfect. Let's go and put everything back to 2023. And with that, we have fixed our filter. Let's go and close it. So let's hide it. All right, so now the next step is that we're going to go and add interactivity in those charts. So make sure to select the histogram and use it as a filter. And with that, if the users go anywhere and start selecting stuff, for example, those two, and with that, as you can see, the dashboard is reacting. Let's deselect. All right, so now let's do the same stuff for our top list. Let's go and make it as a filter. And now we can go and select our top customer. And we're going to have a quick analysis only for this customer, which is really nice. So let's go and deselect that. And with that, we are done with the interactivity inside our dashboard. Now moving on to the last step where we're going to work with the icons in order to make navigating our two dashboards very easy. Okay, so now let's go and fix this icon over here. So double click on it. And now finally, we can say it's going to navigate to customer dashboard. And now since we are at the customer dashboard, we're going to show an icon that is like an active icon. In order to do that, let's go and choose the icon. So as you can see, this one going to be the active icon if the customer select the customer dashboard. So let's go and select that. So now everything looks good. Let's go and hit OK. And with that, you can see we have a new icon that indicates we are now at the customer dashboard. All right, so now next we're going to go and fix the sales dashboards icons over here. So let's go inside it and navigate to the customer dashboard. And let's choose the one that is not active. So we're going to go and select this icon. All right, so that's all. Okay, so now let's go to the sales dashboards over here and change it to an active icon. So we're going to choose this one over here, sales dashboards active. So select that and let's have an OK. All right, so that's it. With that, we have fixed the icons. So the sales dashboard is going to be activated. If you go to the customer dashboard, it's going to be exactly the way around. All right, guys. So with that, we are done with the second dashboard inside our project. Let's go and test everything. So let's go in the presentation modus over here and let's check the data. All right, so now we are at the customer dashboard. Let's go and click on this container over here. So as you can see, everything is working. Nice. So now let's go and switch back to the sales dashboard. So let's click on this icon. And now as you can see, we are back to the sales dashboard. So with that, the user should not go to the tabs and switch between those two dashboards. The users can just go and click on those icons in order to switch between those two dashboards. And with that, I'm really happy to announce our project is completed and we have fulfilled all the requirements. I will leave this project inside Tableau public, or you can get it from the download link. Alright, so with that, we have completed our Tableau project and we walked through all the phases that I usually follow in order to implement any Tableau projects from the scratch, from the requirements until the delivery of the dashboards. And here again, my recommendation is that to not rush the projects where you can go immediately start building charts and dashboards without having a clear or organized plan. So do it step by step in order to deliver clean work. And if you like my content and you want to support the channel, then I really appreciate it if you support, like and comment. This really gonna help the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next video. Bye.